Gio wearing socks? Are you
Oh,
wearing
you want to
socks?
see? You want to see?
No. Don't tell me you got fucking holes.
The moment of truth.
No, he has no holes.
Okay, what about this one, though?
He has no holes.
There's got to be one.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Is there a hole there?
Yeah.
No way.
Bro, there's like a massive one, like right
Yo,
by on the ball of your foot.
He just wanted me to smell his foot.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Oh, my God.
You know, he's been asking me for my toe pics
Oh,
since
yeah.
the day we started the pod.
100%.
And I
That's
told
wild.
him no. I told him no. What do you want me to say?
That's wild, bro.
Can't have them.
That's out of order. That's how we starting off?
That's how we starting, bro.
That's how we starting off.
That's how we're starting.
Antoine wanting feet pics?
Use it for your OnlyFans. Use it for your Geo fans.
That's insane.
Geo-
That's why I only have Feet Finder. I do not have OnlyFans.
Use it for your Geo fans.
G only fans.
There are no NBA players named Geo confirmed. We
Yeah.
just did
I think
that.
there might have been one.
Only me. Like,
Yeah, there might have been one back in the day, but he was probably a bum anyways.
Yeah.
So, like, all we got is
A lot of
Batman.
Anthony's.
well, there might
Sick.
be one in the Italian basketball league.
I'm
Is
sure
that
there's a
the
bunch.
thing?
Oh,
yeah. Some people play professional in
possibly.
Italy.
Wait, there's
Danilo.
no.
I heard Danilo's brother is Gio Gallinari.
Oh, really?
Nah,
I thought it'd be fucking.
that would have
Bro,
been
you really
cool,
took the bait. That's
I did
crazy.
take the bait.
Yeah.
That would have been cool though.
That would have been.
There's,
but-
there's a, listen, Italy would have a nice team if all their guys were healthy, like Gallinari, Bellinelli. If Paolo Banchero would play for fucking Italy instead
What
of
else?
USA.
Who else?
It's about all there is to it.
That's it for the Italians.
About all they got.
Bargnani.
Oh, don't forget
Bargnani.
Simone Fontecchio.
Fontecchio's a 3-point specialist.
Fontecchio is goated.
He sounds horrible, but I don't know his game. He might be crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's been good since going to the try. What the one thing I always think of when I think of Fontecchio, we played the Jazz last year.
He has a weird 3-point form.
He does, but we played the Jazz last year. He took some like fadeaway midi and he just airballed it. And Ian Eagle, the Nets announcer, was like Fontecchio, airballio.
Yo, that's really bad. That's
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Floor Spacer podcast. Tyler, Anthony, Gio. This is episode number 6. We're still going strong. We're gonna keep it going every
All right.
week.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, we're recording this on a Monday night. I think what's today, the 20th. So this episode will either go out on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how long it takes me to edit. But yeah, it's been a really hectic week. We didn't record this yesterday at the time of recording because there were 2 Game 7s to watch, which
Yeah.
we will talk about later on into the episode. But, you know, I should probably ask you two first. How are you guys doing today on this fine evening?
Doing good.
I'm exhausted, and my sports teams fail me, but it's okay.
I honestly feel bad for you guys. Tyler being a Nuggets fan.
I'm not a Nuggets fan.
No, he's not.
Low key
He's
a
a
Nuggets
Nat.
fan.
But I lost
Anthony Bean. And
Two of my teams had their seasons finished yesterday, so I was very sad.
Yeah, no, mine finished back in like January. I think even when the Nets season started, I think it ended.
wow.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare of a ride.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gets better next season.
Yeah.
But
Wait, shout out to my mom. Her birthday was yesterday.
happy
Gio's
birthday,
mom.
Birthday, mom.
Gio's mom,
Yeah, happy birthday.
absolute legend.
Yeah.
So, and when I think my birthday's coming up next out of the 3 of
December,
us, right?
yeah, mine
December.
Yeah,
passed.
and then both of y'all's are in 2025.
Yeah.
Wait, yours passed when?
His in February.
February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
So,
All right.
and then that's pretty much it with holidays. I think for within that regard.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Oh yeah,
on
Memorial Day's
Monday.
coming up this week. Sorry, I'm an
Monday.
idiot.
Yeah.
So
Monday.
by the time this episode goes out, it'll be right before Memorial Day
Yeah.
weekend. So
Yeah.
Sit back on
Relax.
that nice grass lawn and a
Yeah.
nice chair. Watch the pod.
you know, obviously we're still kind of getting used to everything, the ins and outs of OBS and editing and filming and all that stuff. We're hopefully going to get, you know, some better equipment soon, like some cameras, so that way we're not relying on computers and stuff to kind of do all the dirty work and lag. Like a lot of times Gio or Antoine, they're using their laptops, still lag a lot.
Yep.
Whereas I'm on a PC, so it would probably take a lot for me to start lagging. And he doesn't really use his PC outside of the pod anyway, so
Yeah.
We're
I'm
kinda
not in-
chilling.
I'm not in here much.
yeah. But as for today's episode number 6 of the Floor Spacer podcast, we do obviously have a lot to get into. We'll obviously get into the second round series that all unfolded because I believe all of them finished after last episode. So We'll talk about all 4 series today, and we'll give you guys our official conference finals predictions now that we know the matchups. And by the time this video comes out, I think either 1 or 2 games will already have been played. Because at the time of recording, I believe the Eastern Conference Finals tomorrow, and the West is on Wednesday. So should be interesting. Obviously, it is Antoine's turn this week to do the segment at the end where he'll raise a question to us and we'll kind of debate it. If you guys have any naming ideas for it, let us know in the comments below. We have no ideas. And we're also going to touch on the draft lottery that happened last Sunday.
Correct.
I think it was last Sunday.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was Mother's Day.
Yeah, it was Mother's Day. So we know who has the number 1 pick in the draft this year, and we'll talk about some of the scenarios with certain teams and whatnot. But I think before we dive right in, just a little quick note, because obviously this hits home for me. The Brooklyn Nets did announce that they are retiring number 15 for Vince Carter in a game next season. Now, Vince Carter is my all-time favorite Net. There hasn't been a Net I've loved more, watching him since he was on the Nets when I started watching basketball.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the player that got me into the sport.
When did he leave the Nets? What year?
It's like the late 2000s, I want to say, like mid to late 2000s. Because I know he was on the team, I think, like right before the decade turned. So,
That's fun
and then
to watch.
and then he kind of just made his way through the rest of the league up until like right before COVID, he retired. So, because the Hawks didn't go to the bubble. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And obviously, he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame about a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
So I knew the Nets were waiting for that to happen. I was clap it up for Vince.
Vince.
Yeah. But yeah, just y'all's general thoughts on it. There's not really much to kind of talk about with it, but
No, the one thing when thinking about Vince that comes to mind is obviously his the dunk contest where he had his half of his arm or his whole arm hanging in the rim and saying it's over.
yeah.
That's like the iconic moment that we all think of Vince. But Vince, I mean, did he win the championship with the Mavs?
Ooh,
I don't know. I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
I don't think he was
He was
there
there the
then.
year after.
It was like a year or 2 after, I want to say.
think so.
Does his reference page say he's a champion? Let's double check.
Probably not.
I don't think.
double
Sadly,
check.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think,
wish.
Gio, about while he looks for that?
Well, honestly, I think that. Well, he said the first thing that comes to mind is
No,
dunking.
he's not
Not a
a
champion.
champion.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay.
He's 8-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He won Rookie of the Year. He was on the All-Rookie team. And what's this award?
He was one of the first players to be kind of compared to Michael Jordan
Yeah.
coming out of college. He went
Yeah.
to UNC.
The athleticism, you have to.
He did go to
Exactly.
UNC, grew up in Daytona Beach. Oh, the Warriors took him first overall. I mean,
Oh, wow.
fifth pick
Fifth pick,
overall.
yeah. He was not a first overall.
Who was
In
first in that draft?
99.
99? Who was
90.
the first in that draft?
No, 98. I'm sorry.
98. Was that Iverson? I think Iverson was in that draft.
I-
I'll look right
I
now.
don't
AI was
remember.
like 1 or 2. But
Yeah, but you were saying
So,
before.
yeah, so first
no.
thing that comes to mind when I think of Vince Carter, funny enough, is that he's the one player that's been bald for his entire career.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even MJ, he had a little hair
He had
coming
hair,
into
yeah.
the draft. Vince Carter never really had hair.
No, he's kind of just been consistently
bald.
shiny on the dome.
Yeah, and he always wore that headband.
Exactly.
Vince-
Respect him for that.
Vince, AI was not first in the 98 draft.
Okay, who else?
It was Michael Olowokandi.
Who is that?
Ooh.
He might be the biggest bust of all time.
Second pick, Mike Bibby.
Okay.
Oh, this is 90. Okay.
Good second pick.
Third pick was Raph LaFrance.
Oh, that's
Rafe
right.
LaFrance.
AI was in the 96 draft. That's
Antoine Jameson was fourth. Vince was fifth. Another couple notables. White Chocolate was seventh.
Nice.
Jason Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk was ninth to Milwaukee.
Mm.
10th was PP.
Not doing
Paul
this again.
Pierce.
Not doing this again, man.
I don't see any other notable. Oh, Ty Lue was 23rd to Denver.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I keep forgetting he played.
Al Harrington, I guess, is not a notable. Second round picks in this draft. Nothing.
I don't
Sean,
think
Sean Marks, 44th overall.
don't get me
to
started
the
with that guy.
Knicks. Corey Brewer, 51st.
Corey
to
Brewer,
Damn.
who was drafted in 98.
98.
Yeah.
What?
Bro, he's been in the league forever.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was.
The Knicks pick
Wow.
was Sean Marks and DeMarco Johnson in this draft.
That has to be one of the worst draft performances.
Who?
Taking Sean Marks with your first
I don't
your first draft
s-
pick.
I don't see any Nets picks here at all in this
Nah,
draft.
the Nets rarely pick. I think the last lottery pick we had was Derek Favors. and that was just
Oh.
a total sell job.
Yes,
I mean-
I remember Favors.
It's not great, but
No,
it
but
wasn't horrible.
yeah, but he was like a top 5 pick.
Yes.
So it's like not what we can
Expected
do.
more, yeah.
We had so many chances. We could have had John Wall if we won the lottery. Like, it sucks. But I do think the Nets probably should have retired Vince's number a long time ago, or at least until when he retired. But I'm surprised it took them this long. What irks me is that him and Kidd are going to be up in the rafters in black and white instead of with the New Jersey Nets colors. It just doesn't make
saw
sense.
that.
Point.
Like, know your roots. Don't make Brooklyn the entirety of your franchise.
I think they should retire their numbers with the Nets colors.
Yeah.
Because they didn't wear Brooklyn black and white.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of have a mix because it's the Nets font from New Jersey and everything like that, but it's just black and
Like
white.
the gifts that they're going to give them, they're going to give them a black and white Carter jersey retired. Like,
I don't know.
Like,
that's something we'll have
that's
to
not-
find out. But I hope that when they do have the retirement game, I hope it's against Toronto because that just makes sense.
yeah, isn't Toronto going to retire his jersey too? I feel like.
I would hope so because
I
Vince
feel like
deserves
Toronto
it.
should
I don't know
retire.
why the Nets retired his jersey before Toronto.
I think both of
doesn't
them.
make sense.
I think either or, both of them.
To be
is
fair,
fine either way.
the Nets fans have been putting a lot of pressure on the front office to retire his number. So
Bro, Vince was legendary on the Raptors.
he was.
Yeah,
And he did a lot for
I
them.
think
He
both
brought them
teams-
to 2 Eastern Conference
Yeah,
Finals.
I think both teams. I think you think Toronto, you think Nets. I don't think you think Mavs at all.
No.
You don't think Hawks.
Anywhere after the Nets, he was flipping teams.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they were going out of style.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously congratulations to Vince Carter. Hopefully, I want to try and go to that game.
Yeah,
See
we'll figure that out.
See
Maybe
number 15
we'll
in the
go to that
Rafters.
game.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And kind of talk about our experience. But anything else regarding Vince Carter and the jersey retirement?
No.
All right.
Do you want to touch over like the all rookie teams real quick?
Yeah, we can if you want.
Yeah. Let me read off the all rookie teams. They came out. They were released today. I think we predicted for the first team. I think probably 3 out of the 5, if not 4.
I think there was one name on the team that I didn't have
Did you
there.
see any of the teams?
No, I did not.
You've not saw.
I saw
Yeah, read 'em.
I saw
Read 'em.
first team. I didn't
Okay.
see second team.
So first team, I think the 3 unanimous ones we had were Wemby,
Yeah.
Chet, and Brandon Miller.
Yeah, they were all going to be there.
I think I got the whole first team correct. Hawkes was 4th, was another name,
Yep.
and then Podjemski rounded out the first.
Okay.
team.
So you were right.
I was right. I think I
Nice.
chose all 5 of those.
Nice.
I
first team.
had pods in the second. I had pods in second team. I also had Hawkes in first team.
Me too.
I try to remember who I had.
I think I had one of the Thompsons.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't put a Thompson twin in there.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good pick.
So
Good pick.
Second team, I think we chose
I mean, there was a
a
bunch.
good
to choose
amount of
from.
these.
Yeah.
I think the guys that deserved it the most were Keontae George, Gigi,
Yep.
Lively,
Yep.
and then I guess one of the Thompson brothers got in there was Amen.
Yeah, because I don't think Asar played enough games.
And then Cason Wallace took the last spot.
Yes, he fully deserves it.
Okay.
I kind of forgot about him when I was doing my awards.
Somebody told me that I think not someone told me. I think either Keontae missed or Cason Wallace got 1 vote over somebody else in the second team that made him get into second.
And that
team.
was
I
the
don't know
difference?
Who it was? Wait, no, I can look at the votes actually.
Yeah,
The votes are here.
they make all the votes public now, which
Yeah.
I like.
Wait,
they don't
let me-
show who it is. Sometimes it does take a lot of digging. Like last year,
Yes.
Mark Jackson didn't even put Jokic in the top 5 for MVP voting.
Wow.
He literally got publicly embarrassed for that.
Like on purpose, he didn't do that, or you forgot.
He forgot, but
Okay.
you never really know when it comes to
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it just takes like a singular vote to kind of push you over the edge into like first team or second team.
Yeah, especially when it comes to that stuff.
Especially when it's all rookie team
Yeah,
because
rookie's tough.
10,
Very tight.
10 rookies get in. There's typically maybe 12 or 13 that are capable and worthy of getting in.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, it's definitely tougher. I'm not sure if the votes for second team will be up there. They usually just show the votes for first team. And I believe tomorrow, before game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, they'll reveal all defensive teams. And then I'm going to assume on Wednesday before Western Conference Finals game 1, they'll do the all NBA teams, which, I mean, those are more straightforward. You may see some more like, unique names.
I know who it was. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're good.
But so the one guy that missed out, I think, closely compared to. Okay, so Cason Wallace had the least amount of least amount of first place votes.
Right.
There were 3 guys that are actually two guys that beat out Gigi Jackson for second place votes.
Okay, but who got snubbed from like all of it?
Trae Jackson Davis.
Ah, that was who I had. Yeah,
I like him, though.
He missed out on one vote.
that surprises me. Actually. He was really good.
Asor Thompson finished second behind him, and then Scoot was third.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
wow.
if Scoot didn't have a stinker in the first half, and I think if Thompson never had the blood clot, I think he probably would have got in.
Yeah, there were other votes. Bilal Koulibaly got 14. Grady, Dick, and Kane Warmer got 3 each.
Yeah, they weren't going to get in.
Tumani Kamara and Hawkins and Duop Reith.
Duop Reith is him.
Duop
Yeah?
Reith
He is him.
got 2 each.
What team is he on?
He's on the Blazers.
He's on the Blazers. It's another pick. Tumani Kamara and Reith were their picks last year.
Duop
He's
Reith.
better than Scoot.
Duop Reith.
No.
No, he's not better than Scoot.
He's a
but
good player.
Duop Reith is one of the most ethical players in the NBA right now, and he has a great story.
And
too.
then 3 interesting, I guess, players that got 1 vote. Marcus Sasser,
Pistons.
Vasily Micic,
Oh, I love Micic.
and
game, bro.
Anthony Black got 1.
He didn't play as much
Yeah.
as he should have this year. I think it's because the Magic were a playoff team.
Yeah.
They're really going to take it slow with him development-wise because they have so many point guards to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's
everything.
That's all the all rookie teams. Obviously, congratulations to those 10 players. And we'll find out later this week. We talk next week who gets into all defense, all NBA. So
Yeah.
we're good to get into the first story.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right, into the first story of the episode. This happened quite a while ago. I think it's been over a week now because we recorded it the day before because we didn't record on Mother's Day because we want to spend time with our mothers, with our families. But the NBA draft lottery, obviously they do it every year, happened last Sunday at the time of recording. So obviously, for those that don't know what the draft lottery is, basically the 14 teams that don't make the playoffs, so that does count the teams that lost in the play-in, go into sort of just a lottery system where you pick 4 balls from the lottery, and each team has like a certain amount of odds. And even on the screen right now, we can put all the lottery odds for the NBA draft lottery and what the odds were for this year. So in simplest terms, the top 3 teams, 1, 2, and 3, all have the same exact shot to get the first, second, and third pick. And obviously, the further down the board you go, or I guess the better your record is, the less odds you have, right? So typically, if you get into the top 4, because they don't reveal it obviously till afterwards, if you have, let's say you have the 9th pick, and the team right behind you got into the top 4, you'll wind up getting the 10th pick. So it's obviously a little confusing to explain, but you'll see it on the screen, like all the odds and stuff. So, and this was a pretty interesting one because we saw a team get eliminated from the play-in, have a 3% chance exactly of getting the first overall pick, and the Atlanta Hawks went and did it.
Wow.
They won the draft lottery. It's the first time ever they will have the number 1 pick in their franchise's history, which kind of gives them a lot of flexibility on what to do. Because obviously, I think they're going to take the pick regardless. My boy's correct, but does that keep Trae Young there? Does that move him on elsewhere? There's a lot of scenarios that can come of this, and I think what the 2 other glaring things I really noticed about this draft lottery is 1, the Pistons finished with the worst record in the NBA for the 2nd season in a row and fell back to number 5 again. It's the 3rd year in a row they've had the 5th pick. The 2nd time having the 5th pick from being at number 1. And it really sucks for them because they missed out on both Paolo and Wemby. And they're going to miss out on Alex Sarr now, who's presumably going to be the first overall pick.
So unfortunate.
And do you want me to get into the Houston thing first, or do you want to kind of touch on the other 2 things first?
You can get into it.
What are you going to say about Houston?
Yeah.
Because the Houston pick was from Brooklyn.
Oh, yes.
This is one of the lasting picks from the James Harden trade that they had offered to us earlier in the season. For, I don't know what the package was. There were some reports that said it was for Mikal Bridges. There were some that was for the Phoenix picks that we have. I don't know exactly what the package was, but it's very rare. I don't think it's ever happened where you get offered your picks back, and we said no. And of course, because we said no, this pick wound up being number 3. So that kind of stinks. But you guys can touch on that when you I'll ask you guys kind of just a general synopsis of everything. And the Spurs got 2 top 8 picks. They got number 4 and number 8. So on your screen right now, obviously you guys can see what the 2024 NBA draft order will be for the first 14 picks. So it'll be Atlanta 1st, Washington 2nd, Houston 3rd, San Antonio 4th, Detroit 5th, Charlotte 6th, Portland 7, Toronto 8. That was from the
Jacopoto trade with Spurs.
I think it was from that trade.
Yep.
Memphis 9, Utah 10, Chicago 11, Houston 12. That pick was from OKC. Sacramento 13, and then Golden State got their pick from the Blazers at 14, I believe, from the Gary Payton trade, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'll throw it over to you first, Antoine. General thoughts on the 2024 lottery?
Definitely a shocker. I know the Hawks were slated to pick 10th, and they went up 9 spots.
Yeah.
Which is really rare. I mean, I know Landry Fields is the GM, former Knick. Very happy for him. I think he was very happy when they showed his face there. Even when they moved up to the top 3, he looked so happy and giddy that he was up to the top 3. And then with the first pick he got, he looked even more happier. Happy for him. Great Knick. Loved him. Now he's leading the Hawks into their rebuild, retooling, whatever they're doing there. Pistons, I guess the lottery is just not in their favor anymore. I mean, they did get the Cade draft correctly. They got that pick there with number 1. But like Tyler said, Paolo, Wemby, probably others that I'm missing out on. I mean, they're still getting great players, but it's not the top. You know, they got a sore last year. They would have gotten Wemby, which is a complete difference overall.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even getting second or third, which
That's what sucks,
which
too.
is just even more mind-boggling because, you know, they're not even getting into their top 3. I don't know if...
Oh, man.
They could have had so many first option players last year, even if, like, top 3, you have all your first options, because I think Scoot will eventually develop. Like, even if they fell to 2, Brandon Miller would have helped them out so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, they still have a great core. They have a lot of great guys there that are starting. They just got to all work together.
They don't have
That's
no
the problem.
veterans,
But
bro.
they do have $70 million in cap space.
Yeah, they're
That's all.
gonna bring in players.
But they're gonna mainly bring them in through trade, unless they just outright sign a guy like Tobias Harris.
Which I think they
Yeah.
will.
They
Yeah, I
probably
think they
will,
will.
and they have a lot of room to do
Yeah.
so much more.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be as car crashy as last year was when they went on a 28, 29 game losing streak.
No.
Which is just beyond brutal.
No.
But
The Hawks, a weird just season for them. They knocked us out 2 years ago in the playoffs in the first round. They looked like the next coming of, I guess, one of the better teams that had just good depth players, good role players with Trae Young there. Now they have a chance to get that big man next to Trae. Capella's time there is numbered. I'm sure he's going to be gone this offseason.
yeah.
John Collins was moved. They're moving into a new era with their big man. Jalen Johnson is part of that future. And why not pair it with Alex Sarr?
Beautiful.
Which I would think.
I love that.
But I would also, I was telling you guys before, the San Antonio picks interest me. They have 4 and 8. If I'm San Antonio,
Rob Dillingham.
I would no.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Wait,
I think
Yes.
Wait, before Rob Dillingham, I'm fine with that to move
Yeah.
up to 3 or 2. But if you want to build an all France big man lineup with Sarr and Wemby, why not?
he's not going to fall to 4. The Hawks are not getting
No,
the pick.
no, trading
You're
to
saying
1.
trading up?
I'm not going
Trading
to.
up to
No,
one.
No, I don't think that
no,
makes
because
sense.
what's more likely to happen is if the Spurs trade for Trae Young and give Atlanta the 4th pick,
Ooh.
which would give Atlanta 1 and 4
1 and
to
4.
really build like a filthy combo. If
Oh,
you,
yeah, so you would get Sarr and then you get a point.
If you get Sarr and if it's Dillingham, if it's anyone
Shepherd.
else, yeah, it could be Shepard, and then you're pairing those
Yeah.
guys together with what Jalen Johnson, probably Keldon Johnson as well
You're
for
getting some
salary
players.
purposes.
Yeah, you're getting
Yeah,
players.
Wow.
and you're
Yeah.
also you still got other young pieces like you got Kobe Buffkin. It's gonna be really
Yeah,
good.
Buffkin's a really good
You got
pick from last
obviously.
year.
I don't know what they're gonna do with Onyeka Okongwu, but he's still there.
That's another guy that I feel very bad for because he was going to take on that role with Capella leaving.
Right.
And he's another high draft pick from them that was doing really well. Now he's going to be backseat again to whoever
Well,
they take.
keep in mind he hasn't been the greatest for them. Typically, you see situations that you'll sign a guy to an extension like a Zeke Naji, for example, where they're not the most productive. You just kind of give them that MLE type contract just to kind of move off of them. You need tradable contracts on your team, especially in this new CBA where you're so financially restrained. And I think with the Hawks, they're in a good situation with Okongwu because either you keep him or you can easily get someone good for him. And you can, if you trade Trae, you also have Dejounte Murray to ship out as well.
Yeah.
So the Hawks really have the ultimate flexibility. And we all know a lot of times the lottery can be tainted with by Adam Silver to kind of force things to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we know the Blazers were one ball away from getting Wemby. We knew that wasn't going to happen, though, because they were going to give him to San Antonio. But what do you think of this whole lottery situation?
Well, I have a really quick question.
Go for it.
About Atlanta's situation. So if Atlanta gets Sarr, right?
Right.
What do you think? Should they keep Dejounte Murray or should they ship him out of there and get some other pieces that can help them with Trae? Because I don't think those two guys can coexist and win games together.
Right. So you're saying I do think one of them needs to go between Trae and Dejounte.
And who does it need to be and why and who can they get?
It really depends because with Trae, you need to make sure you are a playoff team because he's not here for no rebuild. He's already years into the league. And he's already been to the Eastern Conference Finals. Sorry.
Right.
With Dejounte, I mean, it's tough because he's so good, but he also there's a lot of things that are left to be desired. I think you can get a decent package for him, but you're going to get a Godfather offer for Trae. You're not going to get as much for Dejounte. That's why otherwise he would have been gone in February.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you're definitely getting a lot more for Trae, regardless. I think you're getting maybe 2 picks more, probably with Trae, than Dejounte.
They want 2 picks for Dejounte. I don't know if they're going to get it.
Yeah. They probably will get 3 or 4 for Trae.
They'll get 3 or 4. They'll probably get
and
either
a few players.
They'll probably get 2 picks. No, in this new CBA, they'll probably get 2 picks and a pick swap for Trae. For Dejounte, they'll be lucky to get they'll probably get maybe 1, if not maybe like the typical 5 seconds. Because remember, salary filler is going to be huge now.
Yeah.
But if you're trading with San Antonio, teams under the first apron can kind of trade whatever, but teams anyone over the luxury tax or the repeater tax, you have to trade like for like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's within 80% of the salary.
Okay.
So something like that.
Who is picking second?
The Washington Wizards.
They're probably going to take Reece Shea.
Probably. It's really, this draft is more, it's a good draft. It's just bad compared to last year.
Yeah.
It's just this draft will be really based on feel, on fit, on personnel. It's not really the best player available.
Yeah.
Except for number 1. Alex Sarr should be the unequivocal number 1 pick.
Yeah, I know third is Houston. I could see Shepherd or Dillingham going there easily.
Yeah.
And then San Antonio getting one or the other. Would they take Topic?
I see Dillingham dropping to 4th and San Antonio getting Dillingham. But I do want to ask a quick question about that. And that is, what do you think about the Spurs? Do you think the Spurs want to have Dillingham and Wemby develop together and become a great dynamic duo? Or do you think that the Spurs, the front office would want a veteran point guard paired with Wemby and build off that? What do you think?
Well, the thing with Dillingham or Shepherd, they're young. They have a lot of time to build with them. Dillingham and Shepherd came from a very poor Kentucky team this year, but we're the stars of that team. Dillingham is definitely a shooter. They need shooting on that team. Shepherd, I know, is more of a winger. Plays on the wing, doesn't really bring the ball up a lot. I didn't watch a lot of Kentucky basketball. I'm just going off what they said in the draft.
Yeah, I haven't watched much college this year.
Yeah, but I know Dillingham.
He's a scorer.
I think Dillingham has the more high upside right now because of how highly recruited and ranked he was over Shepherd. I don't know. It depends who they evaluate better.
I think it's really what it's really what RC Buford wants to do because Wemby's only 20.
Yeah.
Trae Young is about to enter his prime.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense to get a guy to develop with.
I agree.
With Wemby, kind of like what Murray and Jokic kind of building up together. Because imagine you gave Jokic already like a 6-year, 7-year vet point guard. I don't know if that point guard, because remember Murray and Jokic are in their prime together now.
Right.
You want Wemby and his point guard duo to be. They want to all be in their prime at the same time.
Yeah, I guess their peak at the same time.
I guess even trading for Trae, I guess you could kind of say Wemby is kind of in his prime right now.
No, you can't.
No, he's not even close to his prime.
No, he's not. I don't think
the way,
he's still an outstanding
way
player.
he's playing, it seems like.
But the way he plays, just wait till he's 27, 28. He is going to be unreal.
He'll put on some weight, be a little less injury prone.
Even if he doesn't.
He'll put on a little bit. Because
will.
keep in mind, 20 years old in terms of NBA, you're a child. You're going to get that natural 20-something strength as you kind of progress through the league.
Imagine if he puts on Giannis type weight.
Bro.
At his height?
That would be scary.
At his height, it's not really as healthy as Giannis.
Yeah, it's probably not.
He won't get as ripped because I think flexibility is the key with him.
Yeah.
So if you keep your, it's kind of like why, like even though I'm a twig, I'm very flexible, and I'd rather have more range of motion with my body rather than
Strength.
being jacked and like
I
being
love-
so swole that I can't move. Like,
No, I love how we use Giannis as like the standard for like NBA players becoming buff, because when he came into the league, he was a stick.
That man was.
Yeah.
Now he's literally like
yeah,
a tank.
Yeah.
you're either built like Giannis or you're built like Tatum. It's just, it's or some players are in between, but
Yeah.
it's one or the other. And then obviously there are some players that are bigger, like an Embiid or
Jokic.
like a Jokic or a Sabonis.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Giannis is the ideal body type for an NBA player. But obviously not as tall.
Just
I think
yes.
athlete. Yeah.
yeah, Giannis. I think just Tatum, but add like 50 pounds.
Yeah, that's why they call him
Yeah.
the Greek freak. He's an athlete. He's
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you something,
Yeah.
because I know you could probably talk on and on about this. Who and where should Bronny be drafted to?
Oh, Bronny.
Because this has a lot of implications surrounding LeBron.
Oh man, yeah.
Because we've seen reviews and reports and whatnot of
Yeah.
like he'll want to play with him, he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a very sticky situation. It's an intriguing one. It's a hot topic. So I want to let you cook up a little bit. 'Cause I
Yeah.
know you haven't talked as much in this segment.
Sure.
So floor is yours, my
so
friend.
I think Bronny, he's getting a lot of hate recently. He's getting like in the comments of like Instagram post or whatever it is. He's getting a lot of hate. Like, oh, this guy, he's just LeBron James' son. You know, he's not even good. If he wasn't his LeBron James' son, he wouldn't even be considered to be in the NBA. You know, that's
Right.
what I've been seeing, and I'm just thinking like, I can't wait until he proves everyone wrong. I'm Team Bronny right now, and I'm all for it. I know he may not be favored to be a good player, but I think he could be a solid role player. I think he is like, in terms of his IQ, you know, and in terms of his even like his physical attributes. Like he's LeBron James' son. Like he has some physical attributes as well. He can jump. He's 40-inch vertical, right?
Yep.
He has some crazy speed. He has like a 6'7" wingspan. So he could be a very good defender, I see. And I also think he could be a shooter.
He did well. Speaking of defense and shooter, 3-and-D. One of the players he does kind of, I don't know about model his game after, but someone he watches a lot is Derek White.
Yeah.
And I think that could be. I think it's a good comparison as far as that goes. I think, in my opinion, I think the one thing Bronny definitely needs to fix is his shot speed. You saw him at the combine; he was a little slow with the catch and release. He was catching a little too low. I think in the NBA, the best shooters catch it high, release it high, and just kind of let that shit fly. Because I mean,
Bars.
exactly. But because if you're getting closed out by J-Mac or MPJ, they're gonna stuff the shit out of you every time.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to catch it high, and obviously he's not Bryce, because Bryce is I think like 4 or 5 inches taller.
Yeah.
So it's really important for him to kind of at least get the space, get far enough away from your defender to get a shot up. But I feel like he just needs to get that shooting speed up a little bit faster, and I think he'll be just fine. Because I'm with you. I want Bronny to succeed.
Yeah.
But what sucks is that because he's LeBron James' son, he's going to get the unfair expectations, and I don't think he's going to be a star player. I think he's going to be an elite role player.
Agreed.
And I think that people are going to tarnish him for that, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because he's not LeBron James.
Yeah.
His name is LeBron James, but at the end of the day, it's not the one that we all know. And
Sure.
that's the thing.
I think he'll go late second round. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
I think his stock went up a little bit.
No,
He might go late first or second.
Okay.
From what someone said that someone's considering him taking him first, which is not happening at all.
There's like a 20,000 to 1
No,
odds.
I think he's gonna go late first. I know obviously Lakers are in that. I heard Utah's in it. They're gonna interview him. Memphis is
Mavs.
in there.
Yeah, the Mavs. I saw the report the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure when Bryce comes in, he'll get a lot more probably hype, depending on how great he is.
Bryce is going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Bryce is a lot.
very
He's a lot.
good.
He's got star
Yeah,
potential.
very good.
Bryce is like 6'8", I think 6'7",
Yeah.
6'8".
Okay.
His highlights in high school are really good.
Also, keep in mind too, Bronny just had a cardiac arrest
he had a
last
heart
year.
attack.
True.
Yeah.
So-
He's getting back his mobility. That's why I think the shot release isn't a big thing. I think they were, from what the NBA execs that were looking at him, they were, I think, evaluating him a little too harshly for what he was doing there. I mean, I think the vertical blew them away. He had a 40-inch
Yeah.
vertical, which I saw that video was really fucking.
We knew he was athletic though.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
He'll get some time. I think once, because a heart attack, give him some time. He'll recover.
What
and
really
he'll
sucks
be
though.
back.
What really sucks though for Bronny is the height. I wish he grew just a little
Yeah,
bit
he's
more.
6'3",
even 6'4".
6'4".
He
would have
me-
been nice.
So he's been measured at 6'3" his entire life.
Yes.
As far as like his peak, the combine, he's measured at 6'1".
Bro, I'm
Oh,
taller
really?
than Bronny, and that's not
Yeah.
good.
I'm taller than him regardless.
Yeah.
But that's crazy though. Like I said, the NBA measures people so weird.
I think they're measuring
Without shoes.
Yeah, because Brian
College, you measure with
Brian
with
Windhorst
shoes.
said Wemby's 7'5", but the NBA measured him at like 7'3.5". So
I think that I don't think they're including hair as part of their height.
Well, nobody does.
no one does.
Yeah.
It's just weird the way they do it.
I know
don't
in college they measure with shoes,
Right.
but maybe in NBA they take off the shoes. I don't know.
Because shoes give you height.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
definitely.
like, I'm sure you're probably like 6'4" with shoes on.
Yeah, something like that. 6'3".
Yeah.
So, yeah, because the shoes give what, like an inch?
Yeah, depending on what you're wearing. Air
Yeah.
Max give you like a nice 2 inches. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I love the Air Max. You know,
Imagine I put on a pair. Getting close to
a
Wemby.
lottery pick right here.
Lottery pick, bro. Imagine
Yeah,
if
right.
if I was like 100 pounds heavier,
Bro, you be
He would have had a
Yeah.
basketball career.
I
would be
probably
him.
could have.
Yes.
He would have had or a
Really?
volleyball career.
Volleyball career, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just wasn't strong enough. I was a little puppy down there in the paint, even though I was 6'5".
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Obviously, we wish all the best to Bronny and all the draft picks. Obviously,
Yeah.
We all know Alex Sarr is going to go first. We know it's going to be to Atlanta, but will Trae be there? That remains to be seen. But the segment's gone on for over 20 minutes, so we should probably move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously, we are now in the conference finals of the NBA playoffs, but we still have not recapped the second round series that went on for the past week or so. So I mean, we don't really have like a set order of what we're going to do. So I'll kind of just let you all decide which one you want to talk about first. So which one do you want to do first, Gio?
Let's do Knicks versus Pacers.
Yes, great place to start. I am on cloud nine right now as a Nets fan, even though we're in Cancun. The New York Knicks fell to the Los Angeles Pacers. The Indiana Pacers was like 128 to
Yeah, they got
like,
blown out.
yeah, it was
108, 106.
yeah, it was something like
They got
that.
dubbed, yeah.
Very weird series. Very similar to Nets Bucks in 2021, where the home team won the first 6 games, and just the New York team got completely injured left and right. Albeit all the Knicks injuries were on accident, the Nets ones were not. But I'm not going to talk about that right now because I don't want to cry. So, Game 7 obviously was the first time the Pacers played their brand of basketball at a dominant level and really kind of made a statement. But albeit the Knicks were injured in that game, obviously OG tried to play with the hamstring injury, only managed to play 4 or 5 minutes. Josh Hart, credit to him with the abdominal strain, played pretty much the entire game.
Yeah.
Dante DiVincenzo was playing with an ankle injury or a lower leg, something like that. And obviously the big one, Jalen Brunson, left in the third quarter, started the fourth quarter with he was either a broken hand or a broken thumb that he tried swiping down to try to steal the ball from Tyrese Halliburton, wound up hitting his knee, hand completely bent backwards.
So unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. Who knows what could have happened? I think they would have lost the game anyways, but who knows what could have happened if he didn't get hurt? Because obviously
Especially in the NBA today.
Exactly. Fourth quarter Brunson is him. But look, I mean, this is just Tom Thibodeau basketball. And when you don't have depth and you're playing these guys for 89 minutes a game, they're going to start dropping like flies. So I'll go over to you, our resident Knicks fans, or should I say depressed Knicks fans, and just give me your overall thoughts on not only just Game 7, but the series as a whole. My voice cracked.
It was a hell of a series, very entertaining. Obviously, it took all the way to the last game for the road team to win at the opponent's arena. I think the storyline of the series is just depth. We knew going into this series without Randall, Robinson, Bogdanovich, OG, Hart was fine, Brunson was fine.
OG was fine going into the series. He got hurt in Game 2.
Yes, correct. I'm just thinking recently. Okay, yes, OG, correct. I remember now. Everybody was there except those guys. And then, like as Tyler said, OG drops. That's a big loss for us defensively for the team that scores the most points.
Offensively as well.
Yeah, as well. For the team that scores the most points. Hart playing every minute with Hartenstein as well, almost. Depth is another thing. Outside of Deuce McBride and Precious Achua, Burks came in when OG fell.
He was carrying, bro.
He should have got more minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Burks is a great player. They got him at Bojan. They didn't play Burks as much as Bojan, which I never understood why, because he was struggling a little bit once he did come over. He was missing every shot in 3 or 4 games straight.
Yeah, he wasn't playing good.
And Thibs sat him, but I'm an advocate for depth, and the Pacers have depth.
Mm-hmm.
They trust their 5 guys off the bench, which are McConnell, Isaiah Jackson,
Love him.
Obi Toppin. I'm forgetting a few names.
Ben Shepherd.
And
I think Carlisle only played 9. My voice cracked again.
Yeah.
I think Carlisle only played 9.
Their starting 5 is, of course, Talley, Nemhard, Neesmith, Turner, and Siakam. We also get to mention they're without a potential other great player in Benedict Mathurin, who was a Rookie of the Year, I think, finals last year.
He got 3rd place.
Mathurin was a really great player last year. Loved him. He was someone they could have used a lot. Probably this series would have been over in less than 7 games, probably, if I'm being honest. Mathurin would have been probably starting over Nemhard.
No.
I don't know.
He's their 6th man.
Okay. Well, I would think if he's playing great, he would start.
No. I
don't know.
That's the problem with Thibodeau. If someone's playing good, don't put him in the starting lineup. You need bench depth.
Yeah.
Did you see the bench point separation of just the Knicks compared to McConnell and Toppin?
Yeah.
McConnell and Toppin scored over 150 points off the bench in this series.
Yeah.
Well, who would you bench on the Knicks starting lineup?
In the Knicks starting lineup, let's see, if everyone on the Knicks was healthy in a perfect world, right?
Well, no. For what they had in the playoffs.
What they had in the playoffs.
Oh, so you're talking. So essentially just Randall is out. That's
yeah,
it.
if essentially just Randall's out.
For what they had in the playoffs. The
Right.
starting
So
5.
if everyone else is healthy besides Randall, I mean, you start Brunson.
Yeah.
You
OG,
start
Dante.
OG. I would start Josh Hart over Dante.
A shooting
I
guard.
agree.
Yes, if
So
Dante's
who-
your 6th man,
Oh, that's very good.
Who's power and center then?
well, Power is going to be
Mitch.
I'm not starting Mitchell Robinson.
OG?
No, I'm starting Hartenstein at center. If you're going Brunson, Hart. Who is your small forward?
OG.
OG. Who are you starting at power forward then?
Achua.
No.
Hart was the power forward when Randall went down.
My God, they had a guy
true.
shorter than me starting at power forward. That's crazy.
Dante
I
was
was like
shooting
15.
guard.
Do you want to know how crazy it is? That's how similar this was to our series in 2021 because we had Bruce Brown starting at center some
Yeah?
games. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It was nuts.
Our bench would have been Bojan, Deuce, Burks, Mitch. That's it.
Yeah.
Achua, yeah.
Achua.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Because
Yeah.
Randall would have been the power forward
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
in any sort of scenario. Unless maybe you were starting Hart at the 3 and you were putting OG at the 4 because he
You
was
could.
starting Siakam.
Yeah, you could
Right.
do that. That's fine.
Right. But I think he's right. Depth was the key with this series.
I agree.
And it completely cost the Knicks so many times, even though I thought the Pacers were the better team in the series. But
Yeah, Thibs ran them into the ground. I understand in the playoffs, Hart wants to play a full game. Yes, but you got to have the next guy step up, and the Pacers have that. If anybody goes down, we're just running out of guys. Brunson, they were all gassed. Yes, we all knew they were gassed. They're going to a 7-game series at home. They're all gassed from the series and in the series before, and because they're also playing a full game, which is the majority of them.
right.
Hart is, his abdomen. I'm sure he couldn't jump as high as he wanted to, as he did in the series before, to get rebounds and blocks. But yeah, next season, Thibs cannot be playing these guys over 40 minutes.
Well, what do you expect him to do? Who else do you have?
Well,
you got to bring in depth. You got to sign guys.
But
No, what I'm saying,
that's-
with what he
that-
had,
but
yeah,
that-
what
do you
he
expect
had,
Thibs to
exactly.
do?
But that's the problem though, because if he was doing this throughout this regular
Yeah,
season
exactly.
anyways.
Yeah.
If he outside of Randall and obviously the Brunson injury, but the Brunson injury happened right at the end of the season.
Exactly.
Outside of Randall, every other injury the Knicks have had were from being overworked because Randall's dislocated shoulder was just a freak accident fall. Yeah. But there's a reason why a lot of players don't play very much in the regular season, or they only play they'll sit out for the first 6-7 minutes of the second and fourth quarter rather than playing most of the game. You know, you rarely see guys play all 48 minutes in the regular season. In fact, you don't see it. Josh Hart was like the only player that plays all 48 minutes in a regular season game.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to win 16 games of basketball and you're going to play more because you're not going to go 16-0, it's impossible. Your body can't physically take it. And especially if you're someone like Josh Hart, who's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's doing what he can. And it hurt them. And look, there were complaints about Rick Carlisle being stubborn with his rotation by not closing with Halliburton, or by not closing with McConnell over Halliburton. Tom Thibodeau was too. He easily could have gone to Alec Burks and given Josh Hart some rest. He easily could have gone to other guys, but he chose not to. And even during the regular season, he decided to play Hart for 48 minutes a game.
Well, here's the thing on that. If Josh Hart provides that much of a plus for you, and you need to win games in the regular season, right? Because the Knicks weren't in the best position. The East was super close. They're only the 2 seed because on the run they went on towards the end of the season. And if you need to win games, you got to put your best players in. I don't know. Can you really fault Thibs for doing that? Because let's say he didn't do that, and the Knicks fall to like the 8 seed, or even not.
I think that's a coaching problem then.
Yeah,
because you don't trust your other guys.
Exactly. That's why the Pacers.
Or maybe you're putting the guys in the game that give you the best opportunity to win.
It's hard to tell because obviously the players they traded away would have been playing normal minutes. But the problem is you traded away everybody that you were going to play and you were left with scraps. And that's at the end of the day, that can't happen. You can't overpay on trades. If you're trading away R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley for one player, or I guess 2 players technically, but he barely played Precious. So at the end of the day, that does hurt. That does hurt the Knicks. And if Tom Thibodeau is going to stay coaching this team, they're going to need to get a lot of depth.
They also did get Malachi Flynn in that, who they then moved to Detroit, who dropped 50.
He wasn't going to play anyways,
He's
though.
whack.
Yeah.
It was a fluke performance.
Yeah.
But
No disrespect.
Yeah, but
to him, yeah, of course.
But yeah, I want to go over to the Pacers end real quick because they had the weirdest series I think I've ever really seen because they played really well in game 1. Got stolen from them. Played like ass in game 2. They played like demigods in games 3 and 4. Played like kind of ass in game 5. Game 6 they were dominant. In game 7 they just finished the job. Yeah. Were you shocked by what you saw from the Indiana Pacers in this series? Because I know a lot of people counted them out, especially in round 1 against Milwaukee.
I definitely did not count them. I knew they were going to beat Milwaukee, especially with the injuries that they had.
Right.
Easy. And I also think, the way the NBA is today is high-powered offense wins, and that's the Indiana Pacers. And we see that because the Knicks were supposed to be, the high-powered defensive team or the hustle team going up against the high-powered offensive team. So 2 polar opposites, you would say. Right. Guess what won?
The offense.
So that just tells you a lot about the era of the NBA today. And I do think the Pacers were the better team. So better team won. That's my take.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. No, I think
as a Knicks fan,
overall, I knew Pacers were winning that Bucks series, and I knew it was going to be interesting to see them because I know in the regular season they did not play well against them. I know they won 2 out of 3, but they were still high-scoring games.
The Pacers dominated the matchup against Milwaukee.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a great team. I said even before they started playing, I said I would definitely be scared to play Indiana and be an interesting series.
It's a tough out.
They just have a nice team. They remind me of that Hawks team that beat us, but I would hope they don't fall as bad as the Hawks did, because Trae was, I guess, the Halley, and then they had bench guys that irritated us a lot as well.
This Pacers team is way better than that Hawks team.
Yeah. I agree.
I think we're underestimating what Trae Young carried into that conference finals. Albeit they did play 2 choking teams in the first 2 rounds, so it's kind of hard to, I do think you can't really discredit them because at the end of the day they showed up as a 4 seed or a 5 seed at the time and took down the Sixers with a healthy Ben Simmons. And even this year with Indiana, I think this is a very, very underrated team. I think Siakam's quickly become the most underrated player in the league right now.
Oh, wow.
I think
way he's been playing.
Even with the Pacers team, they brought in guys that, of course, Miles Turner showed up in this series big time.
I owe that man an apology. I slandered this man for years.
He was a big man that the Knicks wanted because Mitch was so injury prone. They never went through with that trade with Turner. Stayed in Indy.
It never made sense for the Knicks to do it because up until this year, Turner has had the same amount of foot problems as Robinson.
Yeah.
So he's been. That's why I've always slandered his name because
Injuries?
It's just injuries, and you give up 25 and 30 rebounds to Nurkic and Zubats on like back-to-back nights. Like that can't happen.
He's not a big rebounder.
No, he's a stretch big.
Yeah.
But what he is, though, he's a good defender.
And a really
Gets
good
you three blocks a game almost.
3-point shooter. Didn't know he could do that in this series, but he did. And then a guy that Boston could have easily used in their rotation, Aaron Nesmith. They just traded him away to Indy.
There was no need to keep him. He wasn't going to be that good on Boston. Brogdon was a better fit for them.
Yeah.
So
but he turned into a completely different player with them in Indy. And, freshman start for him. He's in the rotation, the best 3-point shooter of the year, I think, percentage-wise.
Who?
Nesmith was the best 3-point shooter percentage-wise. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I did not know that, if that's the case.
no.
Yeah, I'm just going to look it up right now.
Look that up.
Yeah.
I think Nesmith is top 2, if not the top.
I don't know if he took enough shots. That's the thing. Because I know there's like a minimum of like 500 attempts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So 3-point percentage we're looking at. Yeah, no, he was not there. Grayson Allen actually led the league in 3-point percentage.
Oh, yes. Okay. Wait, Nesmith was up there at one point.
I don't think he took enough shots, but
He's
might have.
41.9%.
That's pretty good, though.
That's
pretty
good.
really-
That's very good.
Pretty good.
Pretty dang good.
Because in a single season, the leaders are usually anywhere from 45 to 49.
Yeah.
I know Luke
Yeah.
Kennard shot damn near 50% last year from 3, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, Nembhard was second in the league
Oh, wow.
in 3-point percentage.
Okay.
So it was not Nesmith.
Okay. I see
So-
Kennard here, too.
Yeah, Nembhard actually led the league in 3-point percentage. I think.
Nembhard is another guy that they hit on the second-round draft pick that's just a dog. Can't guard Jalen Brunson, though. He needs to work on that.
No, he can't. Bro can't guard anything. And I really hope they don't have him guard Jaylen Brown. Because if he guards Jaylen Brown, I think it's over.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about talk about that series later. I think just any kind of final thoughts on this series.
Yeah, I'll say
Both
one more
sides?
thing
Yep.
about the Pacers. And I think that they have gotten better after this series. Because, once again, they've learned something this series. And they've learned how to be tough and how to be physical, how to hustle, and how to be gritty. The Knicks taught them a lesson. And I think that's going to carry them far going into the Boston series. It's going to carry them far because Boston seems to be kind of a soft team-ish type,
Yeah, they're not
And so if
battle
the
tested.
Pacers, because the Pacers already have the offense, we know that. Now, if they carry both the offense and that grittiness from what they learned from the Knicks, if they carry both those things, that could be an interesting series.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for you?
No, I think just all props to the Pacers. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. I enjoyed watching them play us. I'm all for them going into the finals. I'm not a Boston fan, of course, regardless.
Well, yeah,
because as a
obviously
Knicks fan.
we kind of can't root for Boston.
No, Indy's a fun team to watch. I love Hallie. Hallie's great. I always loved him. So I think we'll just see if they carry it into the series, and if they completely just don't have it like they did in this series, it is what it is.
Yeah. That's I think I always say just we shall see.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's something we'll find
see
out.
how they play.
But yeah, congrats to the Indiana Pacers. We wish them the best of luck in the Eastern Conference Finals. First time I think since the PG days. No,
Wow.
Yes.
it's been a very long time.
Yes.
And this is the first half season, really the first quarter season of the Halliburton Siakam duo, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
So, and obviously this is the perfect year to do it. It's a really bad Eastern Conference. That's why it really didn't matter where the Knicks finished, because I think they would have been fine regardless. But it is what it is. Tom Thibodeau is going to do the same shit next year, just for the Knicks' sake. Just hope they get depth. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So let's get into the next series. All right, into second round series number 2. I'll go over to you. Is there anyone you want to cover?
I think let's get the other series, Game 7 out of the way. Let's do Nuggets and Thibs.
All right, let's get through it. This was supposed to be the most electrifying series in the second round. I actually don't think it was. Even though it was a 7-game series, I think all 7 games were blowouts. Because I think games 1 and 7 were close, and then the other team pulled away. But I mean, Game 2, Game 3, and Game 6 were just snooze fests beyond belief. But last night we watched Game 7. And we watched the Timberwolves be the first team ever in NBA history to come back from a 15-point halftime deficit in a Game 7 and win. They're now
20.
they're now 1-21 in those situations as just all NBA teams. This is the first time that Minnesota was in the second round in like 20 years, and obviously now they're back in the conference finals, I think for the first time in a very long time. And yeah, I mean, we saw very uncharacteristic behaviors from both sides, mainly the Nuggets. They seem to have lost a lot of that championship punch from last year. And albeit it is really difficult in this new modern NBA to repeat as champions, it is very tough. But I'll throw it over to you first, Gio. Just your general thoughts on this series as a whole.
Well, I think that this series was the most uninteresting Game 7 series of probably all time. But at the same time, it was kind of like a roller coaster. Like, it had you guessing every game. Because, like, you see the Timberwolves come in the first two games, and they blow out the Nuggets at their home.
Right.
Which is like, what? Like, that's crazy. And then now the everyone expecting the Timberwolves to sweep. I think even Stephen A. said it's going to be a sweep. And then now the Nuggets come in, and they win 3 straight games.
Yeah.
That was unexpected as well. And then now you have, going back to Minnesota, now Minnesota wins the next 2 games. That is also unexpected. So, I mean, it was uninteresting, but at the same time, unexpected, and it roller coaster, so it was crazy overall.
So basically, it's the most interesting, uninteresting series
Pretty much that.
of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it historical.
Exactly, yeah. And I think and it was weird. We saw a lot of like all-time performances, and we saw a lot of stinkers too.
Yeah.
Like we saw Jokic in Game 5 have one of the greatest performances like ever in the playoffs. And then you see Jamal Murray go 3 of 18 from the field in Game 6. You see Ant struggle in Game 7. You see Cat struggle in some games, and then he showed up in Game 7. It was just really, really odd. And just to cap it all off, you had a coach with a knee injury on the sideline for Minnesota. It was just all sorts of just chaos and everything. I'm all for it because I think the NBA can get a little bit boring and predictable sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need series like this to kind of flip the script and kind of keep you on your toes, on the edge of your seat. What did you think of just the series as a whole?
I think Gio hit it on the head. I think we thought it was Tim's from the first 2 games, and that was it. Denver came back, of course, won the 2 at home, and then at the 1 at Minnesota. Minnesota looked completely lost. They were like, what's going on? They win that Game 6. Game 7 in Denver. Nuggets just third quarter was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
That really cost them. They tried to come back. But Ant was even off. Cat showed up big time when they needed him the most. Cat, we know what he can do. I wish it was the conference finals. I think we all talked about that before, but it was second round. We'll probably get a lot of conference finals with them in the future, so that's perfectly fine.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, depending on how the West suits up in the future, but
yeah, because West is pretty stacked.
I was back and forth. You got 2, 3, and 2.
Yeah,
it literally even south out at the end a little bit. So it went to 7 games. I'd said Minnesota in 7 games.
Yeah.
So I got that right. But yeah, I think we just need more consistency from both teams on just, playing at home. Having home court, using that to your advantage. They both lost a good amount at home. It's been a kind of a trend this series. It seems like the road teams can't win on the road. Yeah. Which is, it's kind of prevalent, makes sense. Your home court, you're going to, home teams can't win at home. I'm sorry.
Because the opposite.
The opposite, yeah.
Because usually the home teams win at home.
In this series, Denver lost at home both. Minnesota lost the other 2 at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, the home teams couldn't win.
Denver went 1-3 at home. They went 1-3 at home in this series, right after going 10-1 at home in all of last playoffs, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
But I do want to go back to what Michael Malone said last night.
Okay.
And I think it really kind of does make a lot of sense because last year, Denver, the West was not as stacked as it was this year, obviously. Denver had the 1 seed locked up in March, and they just kind of took it easy. They threw games away while Jokic lost the MVP, stuff like that. And then they were all ready to go for that. They obviously had bench depth that was trustworthy in the playoffs, and they were able to just kind of dominate through everybody. This year, it obviously wasn't the case. Championship hangovers happen. They dropped some games they shouldn't have in the winter. and then you're in a dogfight for the 1 seed. You beat Minnesota to avoid playing them in the second round, and then you drop that game against San Antonio, which gives OKC the 1 seed, and you could have been playing New Orleans in round 1 instead of the Lakers. And I think you don't get that kind of couple week rest at the end of the season, and you exert a lot of energy to beat the Lakers because they were not good in that series. And we saw uncharacteristic things from Denver. I think the way Minnesota played in round 1 was the way Denver played last year.
Right.
And then the way they played against LA does not tolerate against Minnesota, and you saw that in the first 2 games. And I think they used up all their energy in those next 3 games trying to get it back. Ooh. And look, at the end of the day, it's not an excuse. They just weren't good enough. They had nothing left in the tank, and they had nothing left to give. Wow. And that's why I think Michael Malone said he was proud of the way his team played, based on the circumstances that they were in.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think he pretty much is correct with that, And it sucks being up 20 in a game 7 like that, but they were down 20 in a playoff game about a month ago, and they came back and won the game. So sometimes you're going to be on the wrong end of it.
Right.
And I think I personally think these are the 2 best teams in the NBA right now, and it really sucks that one of them had to go out in the second round. Which I think it's just for discourse sake of just NBA Twitter and NBA media. It's just annoying with that, because you would have seen a lot of discourse for Ant and Cat if it was the other way around. But I think just last night in Game 7, I think you just saw a complete capitulation from Murray in the second half, and just no one else showed up outside of Jokic and maybe Christian Brown for a quarter. But look, at the end of the day, Minnesota had more depth. They were more, they were healthier. Denver was completely healthy last year in the first playoff run, but Minnesota, they got, I think, outside of Anthony Edwards, I think everyone else showed up, because we all know Ant did not, unfortunately. But look, if your star player doesn't show up and you win,
that's impressive.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
That's what impressed me the most this series.
Yes,
that what I had said earlier. Before, like days ago, I'm like, if the Timberwolves want to win the series, this is when they were down 3-2.
Yeah.
If the Timberwolves want to win the series, AE has to be historically good. And he wasn't historically good, but they still won.
Yeah.
So that tells me a lot about this team, the character of this team, and maybe AE was a part of the leadership and, getting the guys, ready to go or whatever it is. But, man, those guys could play. They can really play. They are some dogs.
Yeah.
For real.
And I mean, again, we kind of go back to Tim Connolly. This team was built to specifically take down Denver.
Yeah.
Because I think Tim Connolly knows Jokic more than anybody.
Wow.
And knows Murray more than anybody. He drafted both of them. He drafted everyone up until Christian. I think he even had say in drafting Christian Brown.
Yeah.
So, in all actuality, it's like, I think if any team were to knock off Denver, it would be them.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start seeing a trend of this decade of just them knocking each other out every other year.
Yeah. I think what we're also going to see is teams flood in with a huge amount of bigs, like kind of what we saw with Shaq's era, where now teams have a bunch of bigs that they can put up against Shaq. We're going to see the same thing with Jokic, because now we have a blueprint for that.
Right.
Gobert, Cat, Nasri, bigs that you can throw at Jokic.
Yeah.
We're going to see that for a lot of other teams as well.
Yeah.
So,
and that kind of goes back also to just your supporting cast is really important, because obviously I think he only had 1 triple-double in that series, or 2 triple-doubles, but again, a lot of those assists could have been made threes and they weren't.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Open shots.
You need your supporting cast to show up. And unfortunately, after Game 5, none of them did.
Nope.
And that's fatal. Like, you can't have that. I think with Minnesota, the production you got from McDaniels, the production you got from Mike Conley, it's huge, and that swings a series. If Porter or Gordon have one of those kind of games, like Denver blows them out.
Yeah, but I do think that goes into the 2 stars of the Nuggets not playing. I mean, they played well. They both had 34, 35 points.
Jamal Murray had a very quiet second half.
He did, but he still went off.
Yeah, though. Jokic played well the entire game. I think the problem Denver had with Game 7 specifically, they just started jacking up threes.
Yeah,
and that just kind of stagnates your offense. Oh, absolutely. Yes. That lost you the game right there. And you just kind of go away from just getting whatever you want with going with that 2-man game with Murray and Jokic, or finding Gordon on the lobs. They just weren't aggressive. They took their foot off the gas, and you can't do that in a Game 7. Yeah. That's just not what happens.
Another thing though, I think about the Nuggets, the reason why they lost this game is obviously MPJ and Gordon combined for 11 points. That can't happen. No. But one of the reasons that did happen is because Jokic and Murray combined for 60 shots together. And so what does that mean? Those players are not going to get into any sort of rhythm whatsoever if you're not giving them opportunities to shoot the ball.
Right.
So it's like you have to give them that in the beginning of the game so that they're confident in the fourth quarter to make those shots that you need them to make.
Exactly.
And they weren't confident. I saw MPJ running away from the ball in the fourth quarter because he wasn't confident to shoot the ball in that time.
He took
of the game.
2 threes in the third quarter that didn't even hit the rim.
Right.
So at some point you got to kind of not, because you can't mess around in a game 7.
Yeah.
And that's why Minnesota, like I said, when you have guys around you, Anthony Edwards didn't have to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Because he was a total brick last night.
Exactly.
And again, all of his buckets he scored too were just easy ones. Fast break dunks, free throws. Just stuff to kind of
open three.
Yeah, he hit that one open three at the end of the towards the end of the fourth. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
But I will go back over to you, Antoine, because obviously it's been a while since you talked. Just kind of what did you see from Minnesota specifically throughout especially these last 2 games? Because obviously they were quite bad in games 3 through 5. So did anything stand out to you in regards to them?
I think Ant put it best if he would give a game ball from yesterday. Jaden McDaniels,
my guy.
Defense wins games. He shows up. They have more leaders than just Ant. You got Cat, you have Gobert. Conley's a big-time vet that's been in the league a long time. You get 6th man of the year on the bench coming off. That's another leader you could say. I think it's just all around great roster construction on their part of bringing in who they want to bring in. I know Conley's not going to be around for any longer. They're going to have to bring in a new point guard.
Yeah.
To probably balance that out.
He'll stick around. I think he will.
Mm-hmm. I think he has some, few years. I don't think a long time, but he has a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll call it quits. But no, I think they're a well-built team. I think their starting 5 is exactly where it needs to be. They could use some depth. Just outside Naz Reid.
They don't even need depth, bro.
No.
They don't need depth at all. They got him. They got Alexander Walker.
Yeah.
Even if they run with those 7, they're fine. He also didn't play good last night.
Yeah, no. But usually he played great defensively though.
Yeah, I think Edwards and McDaniels held Jamal Murray to 20% from the field, 21% from 3.
So good defensively.
So, not great that Murray was shooting like that the entire playoffs, but that's really impressive.
Yeah, yeah. Edwards, man, he impressed me on the defensive end. He wasn't doing nothing offensively, but he could lock up.
Yeah.
You saw that block in the regular season against Indiana.
Yeah.
He can get up there high.
Oh, yeah. We know that. But, in terms of, defensive.
He's a good defender.
On-ball defense.
He's a great two-way player. He's obviously no DPOY caliber guy, but
could be.
He's a good defensive player.
Okay.
He'll never be a DPOY guy because he's got too much focus offensively. Mm-hmm. So he can't really focus too much more on the defensive end, but he gets the job done at a very high level. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you need. And going into this Western Conference Finals with 2 juggernaut point guards, it's going to be huge for him to kind of keep that defensive presence at an all-time high. But obviously that's a series we'll get into later on. But and yeah, as far as the Nuggets go, this is the 6th year in a row the defending champion doesn't get past round 2. This is, I think, also the 5th year in a row the winning MVP does not get past round 2 either, which is a little bit tainted because a lot of those guys had injured rosters to begin with. So use that information to what you will. And yeah, that was a weird series, very uncharacteristic series. I'm curious to see if those Minnesota habits we saw in games 3 through 5 reappear in the Western Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. But we wish them the best of luck. Obviously, big props to Rudy Gobert in that fourth quarter. Offensively, that turnaround fadeaway he had.
No, that was crazy.
That was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
As soon as he hit that, the game was over.
Yeah.
It was over.
I told you with 10 minutes left, they weren't going to get the lead back.
Yeah, you were right.
And they were going to finish on 90 points. And
right.
Denver this season, I think, it was either 0-15 or 0-25 when they scored under 100 points, including the playoffs. And that's what happened. And the worst part is Denver actually played good defense that entire series. A lot of the games they lost, they only gave up 106, 107 points. They only gave up 98 or 99 last night. Mm-hmm. So that's just what happens. Unironically enough, the Nuggets struggled at home and they couldn't get their offense going.
Yeah.
Not even a thought on my bingo card.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts on the series before we move on?
No. let's move on.
All right, let's move on to the next series.
Yes, sir.
All right, into series number 3 of 4 in the second round. I'll throw it back over to you. Which one do you want to go for?
We can get into the Cavs versus Celtics series.
Yes, we kind of breeze through this one a little bit. This series ended feels like a year ago. It ended what, like a week-ish, kind of like that.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a blowout. Yeah. Was a blowout. The Celtics won in 5 games, albeit the Cavs completely just nixed. Donovan Mitchell missed game 4 in game 5.
Yep.
Karis LeVert missed game 5. Jared Allen missed the entire series. It was just a mess all around. They somehow won game 2, which I think if the Celtics win the whole thing, it'll be just like, how the hell did y'all win game 2 of that series? Like, how did you win a game against the Celtics? But
Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch can go nuclear, bro. But not much really happened with this series. I'll throw it over to you, Antoine. Just general thoughts on the 5 games that transpired.
Oh, I mean, I didn't watch a lot, but when I had a chance to, another injury just riddled team with Cavs. No Allen, Mitch, LeVert, Garland didn't really show up at all.
Nope.
There are other guys. It's time for them to retool whatever they have, whatever they can do, whoever they want to move on from. Allen,
Right.
If it's Garland, Mitchell, it's going to be up to them to decide who stays, who goes. I don't know what their plan is. Coach as well, what they're going to do. But it was Boston, I think, from the beginning. Like you said, I don't think it was a fun Cavs run after that first round when they beat Orlando. I think Orlando probably would have gotten 2 games from them if they did play Boston. But yeah, I think it's just a dysfunctional. I don't want to say dysfunctional because I think unbalanced Cavs team. I think that's what we saw.
You could say
a lot.
dysfunctional.
Yeah,
there was a lot of dysfunction that went on in that organization.
I think there is.
May not have been as toxic, but
no.
I think just on the court, the way they would lose games was like really egregiously bad.
Yeah, they have a lot of just great players there that could be, better on possibly other teams, or if they just step up on the Cavs. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. I think they have a lot of potential with whoever they have or decide to keep, regardless. Even they trade pieces away, they can get some really good, capital back for any of those guys, whoever they decide to keep and move.
Right.
If the new coach comes in, if they do keep Bickerstaff. But I think it was just Celtics from the beginning. They made it seem a lot easier after that game 2 loss. So, they got, a lot longer of a vacation to not as serious and waited for us to go to 7 games. We'll see how they play. If they lost momentum, if they just still have it, if they just are well rested now for Indiana, we'll see. But nothing really. It was a boring series. I don't think there's much to it.
That's why the question I want to ask you, because obviously I don't really think many people care about the series anymore, at least. By the time this comes out, it'll be like 2 weeks since it ended. We saw on Twitter a couple of reporters stated that Donovan Mitchell was unhappy in Cleveland. Quickly shot those rumors down. Told Woj and Windy that he's committed to Cleveland. And reports now surfaced that Darius Garland could be requesting a trade within the next week or so.
Wow.
I want to know your thoughts on where you think Garland could go, and if you kind of agree with them sticking with Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, this is tough. Where would Garland go, man? Where would he fit in? I'm trying to figure it out.
I think a team that needs just.
I would say, what about the Lakers?
I literally was just going to say
Lakers do need a point guard.
Going there.
They wanted Donovan Mitchell, but I don't know if Donovan Mitchell still could get traded if he doesn't sign the extension. But it's looking likely that Garland might be on his way out.
Yeah.
I think I do like the fit with the Lakers. I think I would like that.
All right.
We'll see.
Over Trae. That's interesting.
I think Trae's staying.
I think, Trae's either staying or going to the Spurs.
Yeah. And I think Garland will end up on the Lakers. But we will see.
That'd be a weird fit.
Wait, why?
Yeah.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I just feel like Garland with LeBron.
He's a pass-first guy.
He's a pass-first guy, but you'd think LeBron would play with, like a superstar kind of guy.
He already has AD.
Yeah, but Garland is a one-time All-Star, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
guess.
LeBron should hand the ball control over to Garland.
Yeah.
Brown will play off ball like he did in Miami with Wade, right? And then go crazy. Let's go Lakers.
You're going to go back to a Laker fan.
Not quite.
What if
when Russ is out the
Russ
league?
goes back?
Could you imagine?
That would suck.
Russ back on the league.
With LeBron. No, LeBron would have to leave in order for Russ to go back, I think.
That would be bad for his career.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Going back to the series, though, Cavs, Celtics, I think obviously it wasn't a super exciting series, but I think I've been hating on the Celtics a lot, and they didn't deserve it. But I'm gonna give them more hate. I'm gonna say they're gonna lose to the Pacers.
Well, we're gonna
we're
gonna talk about
we'll
that
talk about that
later.
later. We'll talk about that
later.
But I do think that, I'll save that for later. We'll save it for later.
But you gotta at least give them credit for getting the job done in this series.
Yeah.
Even though it took them one more game than it should have.
Right.
But you just gotta credit Cleveland. They did all they could. Even though they got blown out in a lot of those games, they fought. They did all they could. Karis LeVert did well up until he got hurt. And
Mobley.
Yeah, Evan Mobley, actually, I want to talk about. Evan Mobley is him. He's him, bro, I'm telling you. But yeah, Evan Mobley, I think, silenced a lot of doubters in just this series alone. There were questions about his offensive aggression. There were questions about his defense, obviously, if he was a fluky DPOY candidate last year. And I don't think he is. I think he really proved himself, albeit Porzingis didn't play. But at the same time, he was the starting power forward next to Jared Allen for quite some time. Yeah. So, and without him, you were right that Jared Allen maybe does limit his game, and we'll never know. If they hindered each other again, because one of them might be gone, presumably Jared Allen.
Yeah.
But I think Evan Mobley I think he did a really good job in that series. I don't know if you agree, disagree.
Yeah, 100% offensive assertiveness. Great job by him. He's not used to it, obviously. That's why he was getting a lot of questions, because he wasn't doing anything on offense.
Yeah.
But he asserted himself when he had to, and credit to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about all there is to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to watch Mobley next year. Yeah. Because he's a really good player.
Yeah.
Year 4 leap, I think. Year 4, he's been in the league for
I think so.
quite some time now,
Yeah. Him and Scotty. Yep.
Yeah. Year 4 leap from Evan Mobley. He's going to get a contract extension at some point. We don't know. I mean, obviously they picked up the 4th-year option, but we don't know if he's going to sign like a max, the DRE, the designated rookie extension, which is what most rookies will be eligible for, especially ones that perform at a high level and start at a constant pace. Like I know Tyrese Halliburton signed his rookie extension last summer. I think LaMelo Ball signed his as well, and there was a few other guys that did.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts on the Cavs or the Celtics or just the series as a whole? Obviously, anything on JB Bickerstaff? If you think he'll be gone,
I don't know. Give it some time.
Get him out of there.
Yeah, I would say probably just move on.
I think they need to just clean house completely, get a new GM, new basketball ops president, do the whole shebang.
Get LeBron back. Do something.
Honestly, that wouldn't be a bad decision.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't.
Wouldn't be a bad decision. It probably won't happen. Although he was at one of the games.
Yeah, he was.
The last time that happened, he wound up going to Cleveland that summer.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Foreshadowing.
Yeah,
draft Bronny or something.
LeBron and Russ reunite in Cleveland.
Stop it, bro.
No.
That'd be your dreamland and your hell.
Imagine Bronny gets drafted to Cleveland though.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
It really just depends on
whatever pick they have.
Bronny could literally be drafted first. He could be drafted 60th.
No way first.
Well, obviously he won't be drafted first, but I feel like he can go anywhere in the draft.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think we should move on to the next series.
Yeah, we should move on. We should move on.
All right, so we're going to conclude with probably the most interesting one, I thought, outside of the next series.
This actually had close games.
Yeah. OKC and Dallas. The 1 seed fell to Dallas in 6 games. I don't think it was much of a shocker to me. I think OKC was the least talented 1 seed.
I mean, you picked them to win. So
I did, but I kind of thought that they were the least talented, and I was not going to be shocked that they lost. I think Dallas is a very well-rounded team, and they got it done in 6 games. OKC definitely. I was saying it before. I don't know if I did. I think they need a second star, and I think this proved it furthermore.
Yeah.
That they're young. They're going to be there with Thibs and Nuggets for a long time. They need to mature a little bit. They're a little on the younger side, with Chet in his first year, Shea in his third. Fourth.
Shea's been in there for a long time,
Fifth.
though.
Yeah.
Fifth.
He's already like 25, 26.
Yeah.
Fifth year, I think.
I
Fourth.
think, yeah, somewhere around
Fifth.
like 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
This is his
I don't
prime.
think 7. No.
This is prime Shea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was drafted like 19, no?
I think 19
Something
before
like that.
COVID.
So yeah, he's
se-
probably in the 6th year.
5,
5,
6.
6, yeah.
Yeah, but Dallas moves on as the 6th seed.
No, 5
Four,
seed.
5 seed?
5 seed.
5 seed. Who was the 4th
Was it?
seed?
It's Clippers.
Clippers, yes. 5 seed to play the 2 seed,
Nope.
3 seed.
Yep.
I know the seeding. just bear with me. It's 10 o'clock at night. I know the seeding. But yeah, a very well-coached Dallas team, I feel like, in my opinion. Kid just got an extension with them, and I think he's earned a lot more. He got to the conference finals, got past the 1 seed in OKC, even if they were not the 1 seed in our eyes, with Denver and Minnesota being so slightly close in the end of the season.
Right.
I saw them all as all 1 seeds, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They were all equally close to one another, but of course, OKC got that 1 game over them. But in this series, what stood out to you? Was this great Dallas basketball, or was it just a young OKC team that could not just get it done?
Go for it, Tyler.
Okay. It's a combination for sure, because you definitely saw the flaws and the holes with OKC. I don't think Chet's a center, personally. I think he's definitely more of a power forward. It depends on, I think it's matchup dependent.
Yeah.
Like, it's different if you're going up against Jalen Duren compared to going up against Jonas Valanciunas,
Right.
or even though we handled that matchup well, they're going up against Lively and Gafford. Like, they're going to be
Yeah.
they're a lot bigger. And Chet's
Physical.
obviously only in his first season, second year technically, but you definitely saw that. I think SGA's finally starting to play more consistently in postseason play, which is good, because last year in the play-in he left a lot to be desired. I still think he relies on the free throws a little too much. I actually think it's pretty. I think it's pretty funny how the way the season ended for him was with free throws, which is typically what his bread and butter is, unfortunately, because I don't know, I've never been the biggest fan of players that just take 30 free throws a game. It just slows the game down a lot. It's not fun to watch. Just, you're not trying to score, you're just trying to get to the line to get easy points,
Yeah.
which I understand, but you know, if you're that talented, you don't need the line. That's always been my thing with like Embiid and them. But on Dallas's end, I think you really need to give credit to Nico Harrison,
Okay.
because that PJ Washington trade was unbelievable.
Talk about it.
And it's not even acquiring the man himself. You got off of Grant Williams. He was single-handedly tearing that team down or bringing them down. And since he left, the Mavs have just been a totally new team. The Mavs were out of the play-in
Right.
towards the trade deadline, and they were one of the hottest teams in basketball going into it. And they have depth. And at the end of the day, that's what you need. Going back to Minnesota, Luka and Kyrie had some inefficient games throughout this series, but you saw PJ Washington step up. He scored like 27 in one game. He had 25 in another.
29.
Yeah. You've got, obviously, Daniel Gafford didn't play the greatest. His plus-minus was garbage the entire series, but again, he's just a big body that you just need there. Tim Hardaway was hit or miss, but again, he showed up when they needed him to.
Yeah.
Derek Lively's been playing with a heavy heart, obviously. We obviously hope everything. We wish him the best for him and his family.
Been playing great though.
He's been playing absolutely unbelievable. And look, at the end of the day, it's Kyrie and Luka showed up when they needed to, and that's what's going to get you over the hump, especially in game 6s and game 7s. And you know, at the end of the day, you just didn't really get the oomph, the final oomph from Chet and J-Dub from OKC's end. It was kind of just SGA at that point. And you know, I think the Thunder just kind of ran out of gas too.
Yeah.
I think they just weren't good enough. The
Yeah.
Mavs had depth, the Mavs had size, the Mavs had experience,
Stars.
which is so important. And yeah, they have stars. You know, SGA and Jokic have no all-stars on their team. So, you know, it's kind of hard to carry the load all by yourself, pause. But yeah, you really need to give credit to Nico Harrison, because the job he did, you know, in the offseason and in the trade deadline. You can even say the same for Indiana. They overpaid for Bruce Brown and got Siakam out of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's impressive.
That's good.
So that's kind of my take with the whole thing. What do you think?
Well, I mean, one of the players when you were listing the players, you left off a very key player, in my opinion, which is Derek Jones Jr.
I left him for you. I didn't want to.
Did you actually?
Yeah, I don't want to give you. I don't want to give
You're
you. nothing
throwing
to talk
lobs to
about
me?
it. Well, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to talk about everyone.
All right, well,
because then
no,
you would
yeah.
have nothing to talk about.
Because, man, Derek Jones, though, big-time player, okay?
Yeah.
And he's confident in his shot as well, and I love it. He's hitting threes now, and he's not even known to be that type of guy.
I think that's what you need. Because, like, I think that's the thing. We saw Rudy Gobert confident in that fourth quarter. I think confidence is key.
Yeah.
Even if you brick 20 shots in a row,
No, it's
I think
very
as long
true.
as you're confident, your mental's going to carry it through and everything will
100%.
work itself out. What you were saying.
No, yeah, basically, the Mavs have guys that are ready to come in and shoot, and they're not afraid to shoot because, you know, when you have teammates like Kyrie and Luka, you expect the role players to pass the ball to those guys in the clutch time.
Right.
But these guys they're ready to go. Josh Green as well, right? That's his name?
Josh Green.
Josh Green. He's ready to shoot, man.
Always
This
is.
guy's ready to shoot, and he may not be the greatest shooter, but he's confident when he lets it go.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. So that's what I saw in the Mavs. They're
Right.
a confident team, and they're ready for anyone. They think they can beat anyone.
Yeah.
So
And I'm just glad Kyrie's in a situation where quite frankly, where he's welcomed, where he's liked, because in all honesty, he was tolerated in Brooklyn. And as a Nets fan, that kind of breaks my heart because I love Kyrie and I wish things worked out better. And, you know, Kyrie's 14-0 in closeout games. Why do you think we lost game 7? He didn't fucking play. And even the same thing in game 6, right? If we had Kyrie, we probably would have won those games. But, you know, I think Dallas was a team that you never thought in a million years he'd play for, but I think it's really the perfect fit. Playing next to a guy like Luka, I think the two of them are so opposite. It's as far as people go and as far as players go. You know, Luka's more of this, you know, slower, kind of just, you know, he plays kind of like Jokic, but as a point guard, even though Jokic plays like a point guard. You know, he's slow. He kind of just gets to his same little step back, does all that stuff. He's a great passer, a lot of the flashy passes. As Kyrie is this faster, he's so flashy, so skilled.
Quick
he just
twitch.
he gets to the rim and just kind of does these circus layups. Like, it's just so beautiful to see. And I do think they mesh really well together. Especially, I do think the Nets kind of it did really humble Kyrie as well, because you saw when Harden was there, he took away the point guard role. And he played off ball more. And that's where I think he thrived under us. And I think that's where he's thriving now. And you see him take over when he has to, and he's sharing the ball a lot more. So, and I think also the off the court stuff, you didn't see anything happen. And I think also because the Mavs handled a lot of stuff in-house if things did happen, which was what the Nets should have done. But albeit that's the Nets are the Nets. They're going to net, and that's why we're never going to win a championship ever. But for the Mavs, I think Luka's finally got a good team to kind of carry himself through. And I do think they have a legit shot in this Western Conference Finals, which we'll talk about later on.
yeah, I have an interesting take for you guys. I'm gonna give this to you, Anthony. I want to ask you, what do you think about my take being that Kyrie Irving is going to go down in history as probably one of the best Robins, being that, you know, Batman and Robin, right? So the second option, the best second option player in NBA history.
So we're including LeBron.
Yeah, those
And
years he
now
played with
including-
LeBron.
We're saying he's second fiddle to Luka.
LeBron, you could even throw in Tatum. You could even
Exactly.
throw in KD.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Because he's never been the guy
No.
on his team, right?
Never.
Would you
Yeah.
agree? But he's an outstanding player. He's always been that second guy.
Yeah, he's always been the second
So would you
option.
say he's the
Yeah.
best second option
I
to ever play
think-
the game?
It feels so degrading, man. It's Kyrie.
Yeah.
But it's true though. He played with some great players.
I think flourishing right now, yes, he is. I mean, I guess in Boston, you could say he was the one and didn't work out there because Tatum wasn't big time.
They
yet
they
when
did
he was
better
there.
without Kyrie.
Yeah.
I mean, Tatum literally
Yeah.
when Tatum was actually 19th. I don't make
Yeah.
a joke a lot. They waited
Yeah.
to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
Yeah, because when they acquired Kyrie, he was supposed to be that guy there. He was
He was
the
supposed to
one
be.
before,
But he
before
it
Tatum took off. Yeah, he didn't do
fit
well
for him, you know?
exactly.
So he, to me,
Yeah.
is a second option player, and he's the best at it.
Does he kind of remind you of like a Hall of Fame version of Jamal Murray?
yeah,
I never thought of it like that.
yeah, I think I could think of
think
that
so?
like that way.
Yeah, because I mean, talk about someone that is a second option,
Okay.
but they can take over so fast
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
easily and so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
if that makes any sense. Kind
I
of
see what
like,
you're saying. I think he's much better than Jamal.
like I said, a Hall of Fame version.
Okay.
Like if Jamal Murray was eons better. That's what I'm saying. Just because there's no other player you could really compare it to. Maybe you
Right.
can say like a more souped up Jaylen Brown, but like
Yeah.
I just don't. I just see the point guard comparisons there. That's kind of the only thing where I'm going at. So like if Jamal Murray is kind of like a worse version of Kyrie,
Yeah.
essentially.
I think the correct way to word it is that like he's not the second option. He's the best second star.
How about 1A or 1B?
No,
I
he's the
guess?
1B.
1B, yeah.
He's the 1B. He's the best 1B.
But wouldn't that mean second option though?
No.
No,
'Cause
you're,
AB?
No.
You're the second star on the team.
'Cause-
But
no,
you're still the first option,
But it's still Luka 1,
regardless if either one is
Kyrie
out.
2.
Well, no, because Luka's an unselfish player, so he's never going to be just the one. That's why you see before when he had no one, like when he had Spencer Dinwiddie as a second option, he was doing everything. You're seeing him like a lot of the pressure's alleviated. And I'm trying to think of a situation where it's different. You look at the Warriors during the dynasty,
Right.
or at least before KD got there. I feel like Steph and Clay were 1A, 1B. Obviously now it's totally different, but. A 1B is so different from a 2 because 1B can take over the way 2 can't.
Yeah.
1B
Exactly.
can completely change the game by
But in
himself.
in theory, it's the same thing. It's just when you say 1A, 1B, that player is just good. But
No,
he's still the second better player.
1B is so good that it limits the production a little bit of 1A, whereas a number 2 doesn't have that extra oomph to be a 1B. If that makes
What would you
any
call
sense.
Scottie Pippen?
Scottie Pippen?
Is he a 2 or is he a 1B?
He's a 2.
He's a 2.
He's a 2.
Okay.
He's not 1B. He's a 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's an actual Robin.
Right. I would say Dame is a 1B next to Giannis.
Yes. Like I said, this conversation of AD's the 1B to LeBron. There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
It's the same thing there.
Okay.
Like
All right, fair.
PG is the 1B to Kawhi.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a situation where there's like a 2. Like I think Franz Wagner's a 2 to Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a 2. I think
No, he is.
He's not relevant enough to be a 2.
That's
in my
because
opinion.
the Magic don't have a
No,
two
the
yet.
France is really good.
Maybe in the future he
In
can
the
be a
future,
2. but I
yeah.
don't-
I'm trying to think of a more relevant scenario
Oh,
of what it could
one
be.
and a 2.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Like it's hard to tell because there's a lot of 1As and 1Bs
I think.
now.
You
in
could,
the
I think.
NBA.
No, I think
That's what I'm
you
saying.
could.
It's
You could
become that.
definitely include Mitchell's 1. Garland is a 2.
Yes, that is 100%.
That is Garland.
Garland's been playing like a
Garland's
5.
like shit, but Garland's not the first scorer for them. Mitchell's
guess.
always the first scorer.
I guess.
It's tough because we're in a weird new era of the NBA.
Yeah.
We're in a very star-driven. There's so much talent throughout the league, especially just what we just saw in last year's draft class, just alone. So like it's definitely tough. Like I think Wemby's a 1, Vassell's a 2, kind of stuff like
Yes.
that. So it's
Yes.
different when I guess your second option is a Hall of Famer, right? Luka and Kyrie are both. They
Yeah.
could both retire tomorrow and they'll both get into the Hall of Fame on their first try. So I will say, if we are labeling Kyrie as a 2, I would probably say he's at the very worst a top 2. But I think
So who would be 1?
well, would you put Scottie Pippen at number 1?
No, I'm putting if Kyrie's a true 2, it's Kyrie.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree
That's
with you.
fine.
But would Scottie be the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And then we could fill out the rest with the other ones who we think are actual 2s.
Right.
Whoever
Yeah.
follows that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Anything else with the series?
I feel like we need to just say one quick thing about OKC.
Yeah.
I think now is the time for Sam Presti to stop hoarding those picks and go get Larry Markkinen or someone of that
Yeah,
nature.
that's what I was saying. You
Yeah.
got to get the second star.
They got to get someone
it's
that's
whoever-
got size. They can't run it with another guard. That's just not
No.
feasible, especially in the West when you got the Giants in Denver and Minnesota and whatever's cooking over in San Antonio. Because keep in mind, OKC and San Antonio will peak together because they got a lot of time. So, and eventually you're going to need someone younger to eventually replace SGA when his time is done because he's older than a lot of those other guys. So he's older than J-Dub. He's older than Kason Wallace. Kason Wallace could be someone that they utilize in the future. So,
And here's the thing, though. OKC had an opportunity to get a couple bigs like the Mavs ended up doing. They got Daniel Gafford.
yeah.
The OKC had an opportunity to do that. They didn't do that. That's
Well,
why they lost the series.
Keep in mind, OKC drafted Derek Lively and Dallas drafted Kason
Interesting.
Wallace and they swapped.
Interesting.
So, but maybe they just weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
Obviously, OKC will be in the market for a big this offseason.
Yeah.
I've seen noise in Brooklyn for Nick Claxton. I think
Yeah.
I would certainly like him to go to OKC
That would
because
be
I don't want to pay him $25 million. But it's interesting. I think Larry Markkinen just makes so much sense that it's stupid. Like they would be so good with him. And the package that Danny Ainge will get back from Sam Presti, the Jazz will be a dynasty in the 2030s. I'm telling you that right now.
Wow.
Do not be surprised. So yeah, we shall see.
Yeah.
But any other final thoughts on this series?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's move on.
Go to the
Move it on.
predictions.
All right. So we finally got through all the second round series, and now it's time for more predictions. There's unfortunately only 2 series, so not as many, so not as fun, I guess. But we are deciding who we think is going to represent each conference in the 2024 NBA Finals. Which, we're going to get a new champion this year, and I'm pretty sure outside of Boston, I don't know if the Pacers won a championship. I know the Wolves haven't. And obviously the Mavs have. So yeah,
The Pacers have.
we could. I think the Wolves would be the only first-time champions, which would be, I think, the second first-time champion in a row because Denver won their first last year. So yeah, we're going to give you guys our prediction. We'll kind of run through. We'll go through each series a little bit more in depth because there's only 2 of them, and we'll kind of go through like matchups and any like questions we have for each team or just the series in general. We can each reveal like maybe a hot take or a bold take for each of them, and then at the end we'll give you guys our prediction officially of whoever in 4, 5, 6, or 7. So. I'll throw it over to you. You can pick whichever one you want to start with, and we can just kind of go through it first. 'Cause remember, save the official predictions for the end.
Right.
So,
Okay, yeah.
which one do you want to start with?
I would say we start with Pacers Celtics.
All right, let's go.
Let's see. I think in terms of matchups, I think the Pacers have a good opportunity to show, who they are. And I think defensively, the Celtics, I don't know if they can match up with the Pacers.
No,
So,
I think it's the opposite. I think
Okay.
offensively they might not be able to, because the Celtics are a much better defensive team.
right.
Because the Pacers were like a bottom 5 defense for like a very big chunk of the season.
Okay.
We saw them in Atlanta get into these 160-point shootouts like night in and night out. So obviously their defense has tightened up a lot in the playoffs this year. You're just seeing great production from kind of across the board, really everywhere outside of Halliburton because he's a cone, unfortunately. But Derek White,
Yeah,
just
you're
by
right.
himself.
I forgot about those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they won't have Porzingis for the first few games.
Yeah.
If the series gets out of hand, they probably won't even need to play him.
Yeah. I'm going to go back on that. Because now that you said that, it makes a lot of sense. I think Jaylen Brown could guard Siakam. I think Derek White and Drew Holiday could guard Tyrese. So, yeah, actually, I take that back.
Because who's going to start?
This is an interesting matchup.
It's going to be Holiday, White, Tatum or Brown, Tatum, and I presume Horford.
Yeah.
Right? I would
Must
imagine.
be, yeah.
So figure either Drew Holiday or Derek White's going to be on Tyrese.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're going to throw different looks at him because Tyrese is so great offensively. I do think they'll probably put Horford on Siakam maybe, although he may have to guard Turner. That's what sucks about Porzingis not being there. But Turner's an outside player. He's not very in the paint. If he wants to just decide to be a big body Benz, he easily can. But I think really it's going to be who's going to guard Brown and Tatum from Indiana. I'll throw that over to you, Antoine. Who do you think the Pacers should throw onto those guys?
Well, if Nesmith guarded Brunson, I'm going to say he takes one or the other, whoever he's more comfortable with.
Probably the smaller of the two.
Yeah.
Probably Brown. And Nemhard's not guarding Tatum, that's
Siakam.
for sure.
Nemhard's probably going to guard Holiday.
Yeah, there's no way. Hallie will get Derek White.
I'm actually looking forward to that
What?
matchup. Hallie versus Derek White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Could be-
good.
Yeah, I
Light
think
skin's battling it out.
it has to be Siakam because then Turner's going to take Horford.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
you could swap both of them depending on who's playing better with who.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if any bench guys could. No, they have no bench guys that are big enough.
They're also not going to play closing minutes.
Yeah, no. I think the way I said it is the way it probably. I think they'll rotate guys around, but I think that's going to be how it's going to be for the majority of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it definitely. I don't think it's going to be tough with Siakam on Tatum for the whole time, just because he's going to have to carry a load offensively, especially if Halliburton's not having an efficient. I think that's where the importance of Nembhard comes in, because he's not going to guard anyone at an efficient level. But if he can get that 3 ball down like he did against the Knicks, I think that's really going to be huge outside of that one game where he was kind of a brick the entire game. But I really think the story of this series, again, will be the bench. I mean, the Celtics will roll out it'll be Sam Hauser, obviously, Peyton Pritchard. Maybe you'll see some Luke Cornett minutes. I'm not too sure.
I don't think so.
You might actually see some Xavier Tillman minutes, I think, instead. But, I mean, right now, I think McConnell and Obi Toppin, I think, are the best bench duo in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
Don't forget Isaiah Jackson.
Yeah.
Can't forget Isaiah Jackson, but the two of them specifically are just scoring machines.
Right.
Yeah.
McConnell's been just a mid-range god this entire playoff so far. Obi Toppin, I think, could also be a key guy in early on in the fourth quarter to guard Tatum, potentially.
Interesting.
And I think just T.J. McConnell's just going to be a pest for Holiday and White.
Oh yeah. He's a pest for everybody. So.
Oh, yeah.
You can assume that. Yeah.
But I'll ask you, how much does the coaching matchup impact this series between Joe Mazzulla and Rick Carlisle?
I mean, I think the Celtics coach has a head start, basically, because they've won in 5 games. So he already knows what he's going to do in terms of X's and O's. He has his mind made up already. And I think that's going to go. The focus of their offense is going to be on switching Halliburton or just basically attacking Halliburton. Whoever Halliburton's guarding, they're going to go for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be something that the Pacers are going to have to figure out going forward.
Or Nembhard.
Or, either one of those guys, honestly.
Yeah.
The Pacers got to figure out that. How are they going to guard, with those two guys?
It's tough because, the Mazzulla's been very hit or miss, I think, since he took over from Ime Udoka. You've seen times where he's got these guys playing out of their minds. And then there's times where, they drop easy playoff games. And that kind of he brings out the undisciplinedness in them, if that's even a word. Whereas Rick Carlisle doesn't really tolerate that kind of stuff. He's a champion as a coach. He won with the Mavs in 2011. This is his first, I think, playoff series win since then. So I do think having a coach with championship pedigree is huge. Obviously, Mazzulla went to the finals as an assistant coach.
Right.
But obviously, the Celtics capitulated after going up, I think 2-1.
I think we're being too hard on Mazzulla, though.
Are we, though?
I think so, because he only lost 1 game against the Cavs.
Right.
Is that too much to ask? 5 games. It's a gentleman's sweep.
It's the way they lose.
Okay.
You can't lose a game like that when you get blown out in a series that you easily just dominated the entire time. And that's, I think, the problem with the East being weak as it is. They just haven't been tested. And, you look over on the West End, Minnesota's they went through the ultimate test. Even the Mavs went through a bit of a test as well. And obviously these two will collide, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Right.
What did the Celtics had to do? They played a Heat team without Jimmy Butler, which is basically a lottery team at that point. And you played a Cavs team without Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen. And, I know you didn't have Porzingis, but Porzingis makes you a super team.
Yeah.
So with Tatum and Brown alone, you should be able to get it done, right?
What's interesting is teams that aren't very battle, it doesn't matter who you have on your team, but teams that aren't very battle tested in the playoffs tend to still have a regular season mindset going into the playoffs. Meanwhile, all the other teams that are playing really tight series, they have a playoff mindset. And that's what I think is going to catch the Celtics off guard, because the Pacers, I think they were tested, even though you can't really consider the Knicks a great team, but the Knicks gave them something that they didn't really have before, I think, which is, like I said before, that grit, that hustle, whatever it is, right? And I think they've been tested in that way. They're ready, and the Celtics would like to think they're ready, but they haven't been tested yet. This is their test.
Right.
And if they win this series, then they're ready, I think, in my opinion, to go and win a championship.
Yeah, I think another thing too, as far as the Pacers, I think the biggest test they faced was playing against the whistle. And I think They can't rely on, it's not that they don't need to rely on foul calls, because they can't. Because just the refs won't officiate the game in their favor, and I don't think they ever will. Because I think in that graphic we showed a couple weeks ago, they were second bottom in free throw differential dating back to the start of last season. And I think that includes the playoffs up until today.
Yeah. Well, you can't really say, because, teams have their play styles.
Right.
Right. Some teams like to shoot more, which is definitely the Pacers. They
Right.
shoot
They
a lot.
like to shoot more, but they're not going to get the benefit of the whistle. And I think that's actually good for them.
Okay.
Because you're not going to rely on those calls, because those soft regular season calls won't get called in the playoffs. And I think we're really about to see we already know Tyrese Halliburton's an all-star, but we're really about to see what he's going to be able to do in his career with this series, regardless if they win or lose. I think you're going to see him level up regardless of what happens. And I think, this is just another time for Siakam to make a statement and just cement his great career, trying to win his second ring on a new team. So, what do you think?
I already know who's winning this series. I'm not giving away my prediction.
Who you got?
No, we're going to save that. We're going to save it.
We're going to save it for that.
We're going to save it.
You guys have a lot more energy than I do right now.
Who do you view as being that player for the Pacers if they're going to win the series? Who do you view on the Pacers that's going to step up?
Oh, it's Siakam, of course.
Besides Siakam.
Yeah, like an
Halliburton.
X Factor kind of guy.
Yeah. And how will they do it?
If it's not McConnell, definitely Miles Turner. If he's playing the way he did against us, it's definitely the same story for Boston. It's, you're getting 3-point shooting, you're getting some good defense, you're getting everything. From him at least. I think this is just a series we got to see how it goes. I mean, Boston's had a lot of time to just prepare for or just watch tape on how Knicks and Pacers have been playing in that series ever since they finished up, and we'll see. I don't think we have anything to go off at the moment. We have to see how they play in the first game. The second game, by the time it'll be next week, and just see how they match up. I think we need to. They're both the top teams coming into the last series before the finals, and both coaches are well respected in what they do. And I think we just got to see how they battle out. Of course, it's younger coach against a much experienced veteran coach who's won a championship. And we'll see how a younger mind fares against an older mind when it comes to schemes, when it comes to drawing up plays, utilizing his players correctly. Not like Thibodeau for us in the past series. But I think it's going to be a very close series. I would hope. I don't want blowouts, but I think we'll have one or two going either way for both teams probably.
Yeah, that's what we've seen.
I think one team will have a stinker or another, whether it's later in the series or in the beginning of the series. But it's going to be. I didn't expect Indy to make it this far. I don't think anybody did.
I picked them to go to the conference finals.
No, if we're talking beginning of the season, not just.
I think you were talking about the beginning of the playoffs.
Beginning of the season, I don't think anyone had Indy going anywhere. I think it was always Milwaukee, Boston.
Well, they didn't have Siakam at the time.
Yeah, of course.
So it's hard to kind of have them as a conference finals. You just don't think of them, especially because they didn't make the playoffs last year.
I think going into the beginning of the playoffs, I think Indy was definitely there with the Knicks, and they got that edge over them in the previous years because Milwaukee was injured.
Well, keep in mind too, even before they got Siakam, they made it to the final of the in-season tournament.
True.
Yeah. I think a lot of people keep forgetting that. I understand it's the in-season tournament, but I think that really helped them this year was playing in a playoff-like setting. And again, they took down Boston and Milwaukee in both of those settings. And
True.
I think for me, the factor for Indy, can they keep sustaining this play at home? Because if they can do what they did against both Milwaukee and the Knicks, are the only undefeated team at home left in the playoffs. All you got to do is just steal one game in Boston, and you can get out of this in 6 games.
I think they'll do it.
That's the thing. It's something that remains to be seen, right? So It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know they
Can I just give my prediction already?
go for it.
Yeah, let's stop.
I've been waiting
talking.
for this.
Let's
Yeah.
stop. We're talking way too much.
I think, I've been hating on the Celtics for the entire playoffs.
I think it's your entire existence, to be honest.
Well, I don't hate the Celtics. It's just they got to prove it to me,
Okay.
and they haven't done it in the past. But I got this. I got the Pacers in 7 games, and that's because I think the Pacers are going to punch the Celtics in the mouth in one of the first 2 games when the Celtics are at home. So they are going to steal 1 game at home, which, like you said, they have to do. And I think they're going to take care of their home court as well.
Right.
So I got Pacers in 7.
I'm going to agree with you.
Okay.
I know it. I know I picked Boston to go to the finals. I know they very well could be. So I'm kind of setting myself up for a win-win because my official predictions, I have Boston going through. But
Cheater.
this is giving me
No, I was kidding.
this is giving me very heavy vibes of last year against the Heat. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the process will be the same. They're not going to go 3-0 up, but I do think the Pacers are going to punch them in the mouth, probably in Game 2, because we know Boston plays like the Detroit Pistons in Game 2s. That's just what they do. And I do think the Pacers at home are a force. They have experience playing the Celtics this year in a playoff-like atmosphere, and they won. So, look, I think it's very feasible for them to win this series. And I think right now, the way they're playing is really helping them out because I do think they were the better team against Milwaukee, and I do think they were the better team against the Knicks. Obviously, I do think the Celtics are probably the more talented team by a long shot. But I think like we had discussed last week, or I think you and me, Antoine, discussed about this about a week or 2 ago, the Celtics need Porzingis to win a ring, right? And if he doesn't come back this series, for sure, the Pacers will win in 7 games.
Oh, wow.
If Porzingis does come back, I do think the Celtics edge this out in 7.
Either way, 7 games.
Either way, 7 games.
Okay.
I see the Pacers stretching this. I just think it's going to be really difficult for Boston to win in Indiana.
Yeah.
So I do think this could be just 7 home wins just from that alone. But we don't know. Crazier things have happened. But what do you think?
This is going to be a 7-game series, and I am going to be the outlier. It's going to be Boston in 7. And you'll see my reasoning why once we talk about the West.
Okay.
It's going to be another just scrappy back and forth. I think Boston has the edge, even without Porzingis. Right now, I could be completely wrong if there are other injuries in due course in this series, depending. Knock on wood, we don't want guys getting injured, but we'll see how injuries play on. If somebody goes down on either team, what's going to happen? Obviously, we're going off of just fully healthy teams right now. What we've seen so far.
Right.
But I think Boston's still the favorite. 7 games gets it done. Indy's going to stay in there. It's not going to be a 4-1, 4-2. It's going to be 4-3. They're both going to get all their games at home. And I think someone's going to take that road win eventually. And it's going to be Boston.
Well, Boston doesn't even have to take a road win if it's going 7. Boston could just win all 4 at home.
Right.
Because they have home court
Correct.
advantage.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
So
But man, do I wish that it was a Boston versus New York series.
I'm very happy it's not.
I wish.
Nah,
It better be a good series, bro. It better go 7 games.
it should.
Yeah.
That was a nice voice crack.
That was
yeah.
Yeah.
I got you that time. But,
one.
I think it's going to be a good series. I think if Indiana sustains the way they keep playing, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Win or lose.
I hope.
And I think TJ McConnell is going to cause havoc
Yeah.
in Boston. Oh, bro. It's
They're
going to be so
gonna be
much
pesky,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be great. Yeah, we can move on to the next series
Let's
now.
do that.
We'll just keep this all on one recording because obviously we do record these in spurts because Gio's laptop will spontaneously combust if we don't.
I've probably lagged a little bit.
Yeah, it's
there,
fine.
But it's okay.
It's whatever.
I'm here.
I could care less at this point anymore. But yeah, moving into the second series, we'll let you intro this one and go for it.
Sure. So the second series, we'll be talking about the Timberwolves versus the Mavs. And I just want to, see what you guys think in terms of matchups for, the starting 5. What do you think, Anthony?
This is going to be Ant versus Kyrie. I was having this debate with my coworker today because he doesn't believe Ant's going to guard Kyrie, but that's what he said. And we're going
He said it himself.
We're going to stand by what he says.
Yeah.
Luka, I think, is a Jaden McDaniels. Conley is probably going to be one of those wing guys. I'm assuming, I would hope Mavs start Lively over Gafford. which is going to be a Rudy Gobert matchup. And then you're going to have Cat against PJ, which is the two big bodies. So I think that's how it lines up. I don't think you don't put Conley on Luka. Luka and Kyrie are two different heights, different points in careers.
Conley's also hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jay McDaniels keeps up with him a lot better, of course.
Yeah.
And then you have your bigs against your bigs.
Yeah.
If it is Gafford starting, it's going to be Gobert on Gafford. And then Conley is going to get that wing. Whoever's starting, it's probably going to be Derek Jones.
Yeah. He won't start, though.
Who?
Derek Jones.
Who's going to start?
It's probably going to
Josh
be
Green.
No, it's probably going to be Luka, Kyrie. Well, they could start him. It'll either be him or Tim Hardaway.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
depends what they're feeling.
As well as PJ. They're going to start Gafford.
Yeah.
Like I said, you need that bench punch from Derek Lively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My X Factor, who is still going to be the X Factor.
Who?
Lively.
Yeah, Lively's going to be he's going to be big in the series, but I think the most underrated matchup is going to be when Kyrie's running the second unit. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be key in guarding Kyrie. You're not going to stop him because he's Kyrie Irving. He's going to just score the most ridiculously beautiful reverse layup over you. But I just think you got to tire him out. That's really the way to stop. It's what they did to Denver.
Yeah.
That's what they did to Phoenix as well, even though they were much better than Phoenix. You just got to tire out the guys.
Take them off full court.
Exactly, yeah. Just defensive intensity, I think, is Minnesota's bread and butter.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to carry them far. I think you'll see a lot of interchangeable situations with the way each team will guard each other. They're going to throw a bunch of looks at Kyrie. They're going to throw a bunch of looks at Luka. Ant's going to get a bunch of looks. I think Cat will as well. And I really think it's going to be a little bit less tricky playing Dallas. They're obviously a lesser talented team than Denver is, and they're a lot more undersized than Denver is. The Mavs have some size, but the Mavs. I mean the Mavs
decent size.
They have decent size, but you look at Derek Jones is like 6'7", 6'8". PJ Washington's like the same height instead of the 2 6'10" Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon.
Okay.
So I think that's definitely going to be a little bit more tricky. Obviously, I know Luka's taller. He's like 6'7", but he's not an athletic wing, so he's not really going to
He'll still get you like 10 rebounds.
Yeah, but he's not as mobile as a Jamal Murray, for example. So I think the matchups will be interesting. I think Jaden McDaniels will be key in this series. But I still think it all comes down to Cat. If he can show up, because we've seen, I think Anthony Edwards kind of has the Tyrese Maxey issue. When he has a bad game, he is just invisible completely.
But the difference is he can lock up.
I'm talking about from an offensive perspective, because that's the Wolves' problem is offense. If the Wolves can't generate offense, they're not going to win.
Right.
So when Ant needs to be really keen on, because he's not the greatest playmaker, he's going to set screens. That's exactly what he said at halftime.
Yeah.
He's going to set more screens, and it's freed up a lot more guys. So that's going to be key. Mike Conley's going to get targeted a lot. Bless the guy. I mean, he's going to get switched onto by everybody. But look, if he can give you points on the other end, it's really all you can ask for.
I think that's something that Ant, in his game development, he's going to learn eventually. And I think these playoffs are huge for his development in game.
Right.
Because he's now learning how to, he's getting double teamed every possession in the series against Denver.
Yeah.
So he's learning a lot how to deal with double teams. And we see it in real time how he's processing.
Right.
And so if he figures it out, he can be one of the best players, I think, to play the game. I really do think that's his. I think that's his potential.
Oh wow!
I do think
I wouldn't go
that's
that
his
far,
potential.
but I definitely think, because like I said, it's hard to sustain this level of greatness as a team,
right?
Because I think the Warriors kind of ruined it for everybody. That's why this new CBA exists. Yeah. Otherwise, you would have seen, the Nets probably would have paid all those guys. The Nuggets would have paid all those guys. But you can't, and that's what's going to prevent teams from really going on these dynasty runs. Yeah. And we probably won't see a dynasty for a long time. And probably when Wemby reaches his peak will be the next best shot, unless Denver comes back and wins next year, which I think that's the only other chance. Because it's difficult. Because right now, you the past few champions you've seen, right? Milwaukee was completely healthy. The Warriors were completely healthy. The Nuggets were completely healthy. Right now, the Wolves are completely healthy. I think that's going to set the tone if they do win. That if they're not healthy next year, it's looking like it'll be a 7th year in a row of a second round exit. But I'm thinking way too far ahead. But That's essentially what it is. But I do think Cat will be the reason they either get eliminated or go through to the NBA Finals.
Okay. I personally think it'll be a Nas Reed series.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
he's going to eat in terms of points because he played super well.
I don't know though because Nas Reed, Denver didn't have a backup big. You got Derek Lively now. You're dealing with. I think that's the only thing Dallas has that Denver didn't. Because Aaron Gordon is a suitable enough small ball 5, but Derek Lively's 7'1".
Yeah.
So I definitely think he'll cause more problems for Nas Reed.
Okay.
Unless Nas Reed's closing games, like if Cat gets in foul trouble again, that could maybe he could maybe
which I'm expecting he will.
Yeah, could give Nas Reed some trouble. But again, Cat's not going to guard the first option for Dallas.
Yeah.
So his defensive pressure will be alleviated a little bit, essentially.
Another thing, of course, you pointed out how what's his name, Jaden McDaniels is going to be key in terms of his matchup against Luka.
Yeah,
and if Luka gets into his little put you in jail, bump step back game where he's so disgustingly good, if he gets into that, it's going to be scary for the Timberwolves. So I mean, it doesn't matter how much activity, dog mentality you got. If Luka gets into that, it's going to be scary.
right.
So, what are you going to say, Anthony?
Who's winning?
Oh.
You can go first.
Timberwolves in 7. I think it's going 7 games once again. I think the Mavs are a lot better than we thought.
Right.
And they're going to prove that to us this series. But I still think the Timberwolves, they got more heart, I feel like, in them. So, I feel like they're going to edge it out. It's going to be a close series.
I have this going 6, and I think it's going to be Minnesota. I think they're going to have a lot easier time offensively, having to guard 2 guards rather than a center and a guard. I just think they're too powerful right now. I think Dallas played a good team in OKC, but I think Denver was a much bigger test than the Thunder.
Good point.
And I think Dallas, they haven't been battle tested yet, if we're being completely honest, because the Clippers were without Kawhi for pretty much the entire series. And like I said, OKC is the second youngest team in the NBA. So they have the experience edge. Minnesota, obviously the Suns are terrible, but Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. And Devin Booker's Devin Booker, and then obviously the Denver Nuggets are the Denver Nuggets. So they know what it takes to win. They took down the best team in the league, in my opinion, this season. And look, I think the torch just got passed this season out of Minnesota. So if you can beat Denver, you can beat fucking anyone. So I just think they're going to be too much for Dallas to handle. I think Dallas is going to run out of answers. And I think Game 6 in Dallas, Minnesota will clinch and go back to the NBA Finals.
Wow. I think it's crazy, first of all, that how Minnesota works out after the games. Did you see that?
Every team does it.
Every team does that? Okay, never mind then. But what do you think, Anthony? What's your predictions?
I am still the outlier.
Picking Mavs?
It is going to be Mavs in 7.
Wow.
And you will see Kyrie Irving return to Boston for the NBA Finals.
Okay, fair.
Wow.
All about the narratives, baby.
It is Mavs in 7. I am all about the underdog for the West. The East is going to stay without the underdog. I think this is the series where Luka and Kyrie work together. They are going to do what they need to do. PJ is still going to be doing what he's got to do. I think we're going to see some fatigue from Minnesota and from the 7-game series, whether it's Conley, whether it's Rudy, Cat. I really know Ant's not slowing down, and neither is Jaden McDaniels. But I think the Mavs have what it takes with them two, Lively, PJ, to go up against those guys. I think it's still going to be a back and forth. Mavs will obviously take that Game 7 away in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I think they have the momentum. They have done a lot so far, and they feel good after being a 1 seed. And why not go take down another 1 seed?
Well, you don't think Minnesota's got momentum?
Oh, I think they do.
I mean, they got their backs blown out and then just completely bounced back and knocked off the defending champs.
I think they both have a lot of excitement and good energy going their way. I just think the Mavs have a little more to them right now with just how they are and how they go about what they need to do with their big two, their bench, their role guys. Not to say Minnesota. I think Minnesota could win. I'm going with a narrative here of just Mavs underdog and Kyrie returning to Boston for NBA Finals.
I think for the Mavs to win, I think PJ Washington's going to need to average over 20 a game.
Yeah. I think Lively's got to get double-doubles probably every other game.
No, Lively's their bench guy. He's not going to need to perform at that kind of level.
No,
he's only a rookie.
I think he's got to score at least 12 or more and grab at least 10 rebounds. That's what he did in the last game of the series against OKC.
Yeah,
won that game.
But
we'll see a couple of those.
Yeah, it's different. It's hard to ask a rookie to do that. He's gonna play well and he's gonna have a signature game in like 1, maybe 2 games. It's gonna be tough for a rookie to do that in the Western Conference Finals against the Minnesota Timberwolves with all the size they have. But I understand your point. But any other comments on this series before I raise one more question before I move on? Anything? All right. So one thing we forgot to do with each series, which we'll do now, give me a hot take for each series.
Oh, wow. Hot take.
A hot take for each series. Anything. I almost fell over.
I can't think of one.
Anything for you?
Let's start with Pacers Celtics. Hot take. Oh, wait, you mean for the past series or
for these two conference final series? Do you have a hot take regarding anything? It could be a player performance. It could be someone struggling. It could be really anything. Anything could be a hot take.
I'm going to go with the leading scorers in these both series are going to be 2 big men, and it's going to be Siakam and Cat. Those are going to be the leading scorers for both teams.
Okay.
I'll say that Porzingis returns, and it's of no effect.
Really? You think he's going to struggle? You think he'll drag him down?
Yes.
Okay.
And then for the Timberwolves, what do you think?
I think Tyrese Halliburton will have a game with 20 assists.
Okay, that's bold.
Okay.
What about for the Timberwolves versus Mavs?
I actually talked about this last night with one of my friends. I think Ant and Luka will each have a 50-point game.
Whoa. 50-point
just
game.
Purely, well, Ant already scored 45 in one of the games against Denver.
Right.
I just think the way Minnesota plays, they either show up or they don't, and there's going to be blowouts. And I do think Luka will probably go nuclear.
Yeah.
I think Ant will go nuclear in another game as well, especially after having a stinker in Game 7. Like, so it was going to be the best Game 7 of all time, and he goes out and shoots like 3 of 14 or something like that. So I think he's due, and I think Luka's due as well. Luka just needs that. Luka needs that fuck you game. It's kind of like what he always needs one.
I think for Minnesota, we could see a Gobert triple-double with blocks.
Oh, with blocks. I was going to say,
With
Gobert
blocks.
getting assists is crazy.
No, with blocks.
I think we'll see Luka trash talk Ant a lot. I think we'll see that.
Yeah.
They both
It's not a
do
hot
that.
take, but
no,
we'll see that.
It'll be good.
Sure.
It'll be good for sure.
Yeah.
I just want, in both series, I just want the players to decide the game for themselves. Whatever happened in the first 2 rounds with the officiating just needs to stop. I'm sick of it. Like I want the players to decide the games for themselves because the refs just leave you thinking, what if? Right? Thankfully, basketball karma did its thing and the Pacers moved on. But, at the end of the day, these players need to go out there and just be free to play, essentially. Right. So yeah. Any final thoughts on the conference finals? No? All right. Well, congratulations to the 4 teams that moved on, and let's move on to the final segment. All right, into the final segment. This is the second rendition of this sort of like question, debate sort of segment that we still don't have the name of. Obviously, if any of you want to let us know any ideas, put it down in the comments or just message us on any of our socials. It was my question last week. We talked about officiating and should there only be like one crew for a specific playoff series and whatnot. If you want to go check that out, link is down in the description to the last episode to go watch. It was towards the end. We have timestamps in all our podcasts anyways. So this week it is Antoine's turn. He came up with a very deep and layered question for me and Gio to kind of debate on, which I guess is perfect. This is the perfect time for you to do this because you're exhausted. So
I apologize.
He's got to wake up at
my
5:30.
lack of energy.
Yeah, no,
I've
you're
been
good.
trying my best. We're gonna try not to do these at night anymore.
Yeah.
I'm here. Mine is more of a this or that. What's gonna come first?
Okay.
With the amount of just injuries right now, playoff wise, and we're also going to include regular season as well with season-ending injuries that had players out, load managing, mainly just Kawhi Leonard. I don't know who else Joel Embiid, I guess we can throw in there.
He was injured.
Yeah.
Injured. Do you think for this main reason for the injuries for teams going into the playoffs or even just the regular season in general, is the NBA season going to be shortened first or are the playoffs going to be shortened first? What is going to happen first? What would you do and why?
I'll let you start it off.
I thought the NBA season was shortened. Was it?
No, it's just for COVID.
Oh, that was just for COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
No, if we're doing shortened, we're lessening the amount of games they're playing in a regular season.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Playoffs, for me, it would go from a 7-game series to a 5-game
No.
series.
No, thank you.
Now you think shorten regular season first?
Absolutely.
All right. Why?
I think shorten regular season because playoffs. First of all, playoffs bring you all the money. Like you can't do that. That's where
Right.
everyone's watching. I've been saying this for years. Shorten the regular season from 82 games to probably around 60, high 60s.
People have been recommending like 54, I think
Yeah.
is the number. Yeah, just the way the scheduling works out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, that works with me because all the injuries is it's adding up, and it's the best players on the best teams, and you can't have that. So yeah.
Right.
What do you think?
Obviously, I'd rather see a shortened regular season than a shortened postseason, but I don't think any of it should happen, in my opinion. Injuries are a part of the game. People are going to get hurt even in a 54-game season. People are probably going to even get hurt in a 10-game season. Like, it's just a part of the game. I'm always like, it opens up opportunities too. Kind of like, what's like a weird real-life analogy. You know how like in like certain times, like you need to catch like a lot of fish in like a certain area for population control. I feel like that needs to happen in the NBA too, where like sometimes, you know, a player getting injured will set up an opportunity for someone else,
True.
right?
True.
That's how Tom Brady got on the scene because of an injury. So I think with the NBA, just injuries happen, and I know people just can't seem to accept it or fathom it, whether it's just being overworked or if it's a freak accident. A lot of the season-ending injuries are freak accidents. You know, you'll see a guy like take a hard fall and tear his ACL,
Right.
or you'll see a guy take a step backwards, and obviously non-contact injuries happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it doesn't matter how many games you're playing.
Well, it does, and I can tell you why right now. Coming from a physical therapist background, if you've played more games in the series, I mean not in the series, but in the season, and now you're fatigued, right? The muscles in your body are going to become compromised because of fatigue, and that's going to put more pressure on your ligaments, more pressure on your tendons, resulting in the injuries, the season-ending injuries that we see,
Right.
like torn ACLs, those types of injuries. And that's because those muscles are not taking the load from the landings, the different cuts now because they're fatigued,
Yeah.
and that's going all onto the tendons.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, I guess the thing with that is they're still going to go through the same sort of stuff with a shortened season to begin with. It's just more games. And, you know, maybe that's cue to expand roster sizes or expand teams. That way there's a much more spread out player pool that gives players more opportunities. It gives guys chances to rest. Because at the end of the day, the guys in the 90s and 80s were playing 82 games. And they just kept going. And now we're in a much more softer era, essentially, where, you know, guys aren't forcing themselves as much, and, obviously they're going a lot more. They're going a lot more. What's the word? They're a lot more intense with their training regimen and all that stuff, and that's also a cause to it as well.
Yeah.
Because they're wearing themselves down trying to get in shape.
Yeah.
And it's that it doesn't matter how many games you play in a season. Because I do agree with you with the playoff sense where it's like it doesn't make sense to shorten the playoffs because that's the games that matter the most, and I think. It does give you the most money, and I think you need a big sample size of games in both the regular season and the playoffs to determine who's the best team.
Okay.
Because if it was a 50-game season, the Mavericks wouldn't have made the playoffs this year.
Well, here's the thing. If you have a shortened season, that's going to put more emphasis on the games that are being played. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Right.
when there's a longer season, you see, we got time. We'll get better in the second half, right?
But it's specific matchups that really make the playoffs interesting. Because in the NBA, for those that don't know, you play your excuse me, sorry. I just choked on my own saliva. You play your 4 division rivals 4 times each. You play your conference opponents either 3 times, some you play 4 times depending on scheduling, and you play each team in the other conference twice, right? So, Denver and Minnesota were even the entire season. They split 2-2, and then obviously they went to 7 games. So I think the season total was what? 7? It was 6-5 for Minnesota, 5-6 for Denver. I feel like you need those. You need all 4 of those games. Because it really gives you the full story, especially if you spread them out throughout the season. They met right at the beginning of the season, and they met again at the end of the season. So you're playing different teams throughout that. It's where the trade deadline happens and all that stuff. And I've never been a fan of a shortened season because, you need the games. That's why you play the games. And if there's not as many games,
why do you need the games?
well, you need to play. You need a big sample size with anything, right? How can you determine someone's the better team if they only played 40 games?
Look at the NFL. They play 17 games in the season.
Well, that's totally different because the NFL, they're completely putting their bodies on the line like that, and they're really just gassing themselves out. The NBA, it's a sport you can play. In high school, people are playing on 4 teams in a single season. They're playing like 3 times a day, so. Their bodies should be ready for that.
But here's the thing, that's an interesting thing you brought up. In high school, going back into like the 80s, 90s, right?
Yeah.
Guys weren't playing 3-4 games a day on the AAU
Exactly,
teams.
yeah.
So maybe that's a reason why that they have less mileage going into the NBA, giving them better longevity or less of a risk of injury. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I think it also just comes down to the players. You see the healthy guys in the league are perfectly in shape, and a lot of guys don't take care of themselves the way they should be. Why do you think LeBron's never had a serious injury in his whole career?
Genetics.
Well, genetics are part of it, but Prince is trying to call me. But but it's obviously genetics can be a part of it, but you need your routine to stay healthy. If you're not taking it seriously, or if you're not putting forth your best effort to try and get in shape and stay in shape, then I guess you're just not made for this league long term. Right? I think you really need to be serious. And that's what LeBron said in his podcast. It's about sacrifice. You have to make sacrifices. And even if that means, not spending time with loved ones. Because if you want to be great and you want to be in this league for a long time, you need to be in shape, and you need to be, I think that's more important than your actual court production because you can sustain it. And I think that's really important for the playoffs too, because the teams that are healthy and the teams that are fit will typically always end up on top.
True.
So, and I think a shortened season, it takes away a lot.
Okay.
So I think it kind of allows you to kind of see everything. And I think so too, because obviously the seasons in high school and the seasons in college are a lot shorter. You're obviously in class or you're doing other stuff. In the NBA, it's your full-time job. So if your full-time job revolves around playing 40 games a year, making millions of dollars.
Interesting point. Because now you might have to pay the stars less money or the players less money because they're not playing as many games.
Because you're losing revenue by not having as many games.
Well, would you be though?
You would, 100%.
Because
would you rather have an 82 game season with not as many pivotal games, but you can get some incredible performances. Like when Embiid dropped 70 on San Antonio. Obviously, the Sixers, Spurs, it's a total mismatch. But if you get a historic performance like that, it's good for revenue.
Yeah.
Whereas you're getting 40 games, like, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
You'd only get one matchup between the Spurs and the Sixers, and it would only be you need a home and home.
Yeah.
So you need that sample size.
I see what you're saying, but going back to my point about the NFL, right?
Yeah.
They obviously bring in by far the largest amount of revenue in all of American sports. And I think that's because each game has a lot of emphasis. And I think the less amount of games you have in a season, the more viewership you're going to get per game. So I think maybe they can test something out a season where they do 50 games, or they try 60 or whatever works, right?
Right.
They test that out, and if that's something that works for them, go with it. Because I think players are suffering right now because of the season.
It's just hard for me to kind of side with that. Because, I mean, it's kind of all like, I think we can all agree the NHL is 50 times more physical than the NBA. They play the same amount of games. They both play 82-game seasons. Baseball's not a contact sport like the NBA is.
Right.
They play 162 games. The NFL, it's borderline illegal. I think if the NFL was created today, it would not be allowed. That's why they don't play that many games. And they even just expanded their season. They brought it to, 17 games now?
Yeah. But that's not the point. The point is it brings in viewers.
It brings in viewers,
That's the
yes.
point.
But I think the scope of the NFL is totally different from the NBA, where these guys are made to play 82 games in a season. And, obviously nowadays you're not going to see players suit up for all 82 games. There's very few of them that do. But I think for me personally, I think these players should be playing the season.
So what do you see as a solution? Because players don't play 82 games anymore like they used to. And because of that, viewership has gone down.
Right.
So what do you think is a solution for the NBA? Should they lessen the games, or should they tell players, let's get in the game, let's go?
I think it definitely helps that they introduced the 65-game rule for the All NBA and the regular season awards. It definitely incentivizes athletes to play and not sit when they have like a broken toenail or something like that. I think the other thing too, and I just lost my train of thought on what I was going to say. Crap. It was something good too. What was it? It'll come back to me at some point. But I think they're trying to also make the regular season matter more by introducing the in-season tournament, because obviously that does count for regular season record outside of the championship game. But I think with the regular season, you're trying to shorten it because of injuries, where you're trying to shorten something because of something that's part of the game. It's just because you shorten the season, you're going to get injuries regardless. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And it's even worse because that was the thing I forgot to say. It's even worse because you look at Cat, right, or Embiid. They would have been out for the season if it was a shortened season. Because there's so many games, you have kind of like a mid-tier injury. You have time to come back and give your team something for the playoffs. Because if that's the case right now in this current state of the NBA, obviously like any broken leg or broken arm, you're done for the year. Any torn Achilles, ACL, we all know that's done. But if you have like a partial tear in your meniscus, something like that, you can't get that surgery. Even though it takes you like a month or two to get back, you're going to miss most of the season. So a shortened season takes away a lot.
Okay, fair point.
And it limits everything completely.
Yeah. What do you think, Anthony? What's your opinion, your quick opinion on this topic?
You leave it the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought about it. I also think in a shortened, if you're lowering the game to, the season to 60 games, games will definitely matter more. Players will play harder because you have such a smaller sample size compared to 82. But also when you have players playing harder, you have injuries more likely occurring to happen because they're playing at not 100 but 150%, because they're trying to close the gap between certain teams if they're within certain games. With 82, you have more flexibility, of course, to close gaps on standings, to just close gaps in a lot of things. If you're playing a 40-game season and you're Detroit 0-20,
Already out.
half of the games are gone, and your season's done, and you have half of the games to go. So I think with 0-20, with 80 games, you have 60 games left. You can make some leeway on there a little bit with now the plan.
Right.
If you're the last team. But yeah, baseball is another thing that's a non-contact sport. Football, you can't play more than, I think, 16, 17 games. Just
the amount of CTE per capita would multiply.
I do basketball. They are running, I would say, more miles a game than in football, back and forth up the court.
Well, football, it's more of a quick spurts of energy. I think it's different compared to like soccer, where soccer you're pulling hammies like if you're playing more than like 90 minutes. That's different. But even still, like you look at the championship, you could see a team go from bottom to sixth within like a 2-month span.
Yeah.
So in the NBA, things can happen. Like you saw when the Nets traded James Harden, we went from first in the standings all the way down to 7th within a 2-week span.
Yeah, and then also with I think also having a 5-game playoff series, like, I could even in the first round you could experiment with 5 games. I don't think it would go as well. I think you stay with the 7 games.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more lopsided first round series, but if it was 5-game series, Denver would have won in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Minnesota we wouldn't have known about that Minnesota comeback in Game 6 and Game 7.
Yeah, they could take a page out of MLB's book. The ALDS and it is always 5-game series. It's the first series of the playoffs.
There's an extra round in the NBA though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's why. I think leaving it at 7 is fine because you can have first round upsets like that.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not out of line at all. NHL has 7-game series. Same thing with them. They're 7 games all throughout the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also on the players to work on their conditioning.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys want to work on getting jacked, but you're not conditioning your muscles correctly. It's happened in baseball with a lot of players on my Yankees, especially.
Yeah.
Some guys that are older, they're just like, they're muscular, and they. Of course, you're getting older. Your muscles are going to depreciate over time,
right?
Because you're getting older. But you can condition them a certain. Like he said, LeBron's never gotten injured like majorly in his career. Embiid's kind of been on that trajectory of just injury every year. What's it going to be this year?
He's a different case because he started playing when he was like 15, 16. So
he also was injured at Kansas. He didn't play a lot of Kansas.
Yeah, but he was a late bloomer, so he's not. Yeah. You're instead of kind of building up your repertoire earlier, and kind of goes with your muscles, because we all know a lot of the NBA players start very early. Yeah, there's very outlier cases like Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. I think. Zion's another case with injured body. He's getting better with that. Kawhi, I don't know. Kawhi is a whole nother story.
Kawhi is also himself an outlier because I've never seen someone so in shape that is just so not in shape. He's just glass.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ben, I guess you can say. Benson.
Yeah. That's also you see a lot of unicorns that, it's tough. Like even me, like I'm 6'5" and I have back problems because it's a lot for your body to handle. Yeah. Right.
I guess right now we haven't seen it with Wemby.
Well, Wemby takes very good care of himself. Mm-hmm. You see him before the games; he's crawling barefoot on the court to give himself the strength in his Achilles and his calf and all that stuff.
Very important.
You saw him roll an ankle so bad, and he was fine.
Wow.
He just got up and didn't miss a game.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the ability to not get injured is a skill, and people are going to learn that eventually. So
it's made, not born.
I think to wrap it up, if the question to be asked is, does shortening the season give the NBA the opportunity to make more money? That's number one, and number two, does shortening the season lead to less injuries in the NBA? And those are two questions that have to be answered that are unanswered. So I don't think we can end this debate in any way of who was right or wrong.
Correct.
We would have to see it play out, in real life.
Yeah.
So.
And let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments for those on YouTube, because I think that's the only place you can comment.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting because this has been kind of a hot topic for a while. Obviously, they've added more games now with the in-season tournament, or at least the championship, and obviously the play-in tournament's a thing. But yeah, it's always going to be a controversial topic, and I never think they're going to shorten a season because it's just revenue-wise, it just doesn't make sense, especially for the teams. Instead of making all that money for 82 games. Ticket sales wise, you're only going to be making it for what, 50, 40, 60, however much.
That makes sense.
Because even though, like, obviously I know during COVID there were no fans, but they were shortened seasons, and they weren't as good. It was a 72 game season in 2021. So definitely some food for thought, though. I do appreciate that question. It's very good.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to see what you got next week, Mr. Russ.
We'll
over
figure
there.
something out.
Figure something out.
Yeah.
So, and if any of you guys have,
I had another follow-up question, but I think I'm gonna save
Save
that
it.
one because he brought up an interesting point about just like injury building. I'm gonna keep the question.
yeah, save that one for the next time.
Yeah.
We'll hear that one in a few weeks. But if any of you guys have any questions you want us to answer, if ever the three of us have kind of creative blocks, let us know down in the comments. Anything, whether it's your own opinion or if it's from like a Reddit post or a Twitter post or anything of that nature. Let us know. It could even be something that, like someone like Stephen A says on First Take, or something that we could discuss if anything crazy like that happens. So any final thoughts on this segment?
No,
We good.
We good?
I think we did a good job with
Yes,
that.
sir.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of episode number 6 of the Floor Spacer podcast. As always, for those that are still with the flow of the video, Gio, what word should they comment?
Oh no.
Could be anything.
Let's see.
Anything.
Let's see. What am I looking at? I spy with my little eye. Let's do FDU. Comment FDU in the comments, all caps. Let's go.
Okay, we got it. FDU, our alma mater, the school with the greatest college basketball win in the sports history.
Yep.
In the sports history. And you can't tell us otherwise
No.
because it's the facts.
It beats UMBC by a mile.
Yep, exactly. Especially because we were a play-in team.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why it beats it by a
Blame
mile,
team.
and because Purdue was a better 1 seed.
Exactly, yeah. But, oh no, Virginia was the overall number 1 seed. They lost 1 game going into that.
Okay.
So I think their opponent was stronger, but we had Zach Edey, and we had
Nobody for
no
anybody.
one on that roster was taller than me.
Bro.
So that's impressive. There's just a bunch of Josh Hart's in a dream.
No, really though. It was a team full of Josh Harts, which is
It
hilarious.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was.
But yeah, I forgot to do this in the intro, so I'll do all the housekeeping stuff now. For those of you on YouTube, if you guys are new, remember to subscribe to the channel. We upload daily shorts, and obviously our new pods every Wednesday, sometimes Thursdays, depending on how long it takes to edit. Obviously, like the video if you guys enjoyed. Turn on that little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you're notified every single time we upload. That way you don't miss out. If you guys are on Spotify, make sure to give us a 5-star rating. Follow us on there as well. Any bit of support does help. And obviously follow us on all our socials. We're at Floor Spacer Pod on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and as well as just our personal socials, which you guys can see right here on the bottom of the screen, whichever way theirs are. Should be a very interesting conference finals, and we'll talk more about that next week. Any final words from you two?
No, sir. We good.
I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, I feel you. He's got to get up at like 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. We love you all endlessly. And as always, we'll see you all next Wednesday.
Let's go.